Okay, folks, welcome tonight to the Town of Mount Pleasant Planning Board meeting regularly scheduled for April 2nd, 2026, 7:30 PM. First up, business items, minutes from the 3/16/2026 Planning Board meeting. Any questions or comments on the minutes that were disseminated to the board earlier? With the prevailing sentiment of no comment, any motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from 3:16.
Motion from Jane,
Second.
second from Eileen. Walter?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And aye from me. Okay, first up, we have a continuing public hearing. So what that means is we've already had a public hearing on it before, and we're continuing that conversation tonight. So first up is number 1, proposed 95 Bradhurst Blythedale Children's Hospital 3-phase improvement plan, including expansion for long-term care, parking deck, and improvements to site utilities and infrastructure. Application site plan SP 25-02, location 95 Bradhurst Avenue, Valhalla, New York. Section block lot number is 117.17-1-2, zone R20, owner and applicant Blythedale Children's Hospital, engineer and architect Langen Colliers E4H Architecture. Like to come up? Good evening.
Good evening. Back up a little bit. Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. I know it's April, but Happy New Year. For the record, my name is Janet Garris. I'm a partner with Del Bello, Dinellen, Weingarten, Wise, and Whitaker here this evening on behalf of Blythedale Children's Hospital. As you know, this is an application that was filed a little bit over a year ago. We've been before you now a number of times, and Mr. Chairman, in October, when we were last here, I think you advised us not to come back until we had addressed the comments of your town engineer and town consultants. So we have spent the last several months working with the town engineer, working with NISDOT, working with your professional staff to address outstanding comments of the board. So I just would like to take a few moments, since it has been a little while since we've been here, to just refresh your recollection. I think you're all familiar with Blythedale, located at 95 Bradhurst Avenue. They provide care for our most vulnerable population, and as we've expressed to you in the past, there's great demand for additional hospital beds like the kind that Blythedale provides in the state of New York. It's unfortunate, but it is a reality. So what we're doing is seeking to expand operations to provide much-needed beds at the property. And just to give you a recap, as I started to a little bit earlier, we submitted a little bit over a year ago in March 25. We appeared before you, I think it was April, June, July, October. The board retained an independent traffic consultant to review the traffic report and studies that we provided. We responded to those comments. Your town engineer also raised some comments with regard to traffic, and we've worked with him on that as well. We responded to those traffic comments July 11, August 12th, September 19th, and then since then, most recently March 2nd, when we responded to your town engineer. We've also worked with Greenberg Water and Sewer. That review has been completed. Your fire department and EMS review has been completed, and once again, last before the board in October. So you want to flip to the next slide? So just a little bit about the project and the property. Again, it's a 12.9 acre parcel. We're seeking site plan approval from the board to permit improvements at the property in 3 different phases. The first phase would be a 1-story parking structure containing 132 spaces. The second phase would be an emergency access ring road around the existing hospital building, together with related infrastructure. And then the third phase, which would come later, would be that 2-story addition to the existing hospital building on the south side of the building to accommodate 44 additional long-term care beds. Since we met with the planning board on October 20th, as I mentioned, we've worked with your town engineer to respond to his comments. Today we received a short memo. He raised one additional comment in that memo, but referred specifically to the Department of Transportation, who we have been working with, and his concern that was raised in that letter has been addressed and will be addressed as part of the improvements that are proposed as part of the project. Our traffic engineer, Phil Greeley, is with us this evening, and he can speak to those improvements and proposed improvements a little bit later. As part of the Department of Transportation review, they asked for certain pedestrian improvements in the vicinity of the property, I think, as well as, and Phil can correct me if I'm wrong, but as well as some signal timing adjustments and some other things. We responded to all of the outstanding comments of the planning board and the public in our submission of March 2nd. Additionally, we submitted correspondence earlier today responding to some additional comments from the public that were received this week. Let's flip to the next. So the DOT. The applicant's consultants have worked extensively with DOT since we last met with the board. There are a number of proposed preliminary pedestrian improvements. There is intended to be a bus stop pad at the north driveway to be modified for proper ADA accessibility. At Bradhurst and Grasslands intersection, we're proposing to add a sidewalk from the existing sidewalk at the south driveway to the corner at Bradhurst. at Grasslands. We intend to create crosswalks across Bradhurst and Grasslands Road, and to extend the sidewalk on the north side of Grasslands to the existing bus stop. You can flip to the next one. So as I mentioned, March 2nd, April 2nd, we responded to public comments. There was some comments raised by neighbors. I'd like to just respectfully remind the board that your responsibility in reviewing this application is to review the actual application that is before you, and that is an application for site plan approval for the proposed improvements that I just spoke about. The planning board, over the course of the time that we've been before you, has taken a hard look at our application. You've considered all of the impacts of the project. You have identified your areas of relevant concern. Those areas had to do with lighting, stormwater, visual impacts, and traffic. The applicant's been very responsive and has addressed all of those areas of concern through subsequent submissions and revised reports, and through our work with your consultants and professional staff. You have relied on your expert review of the application, again, by your town engineer, your town consulting planner, your town consulting traffic engineer, as well as the New York State Department of Transportation. We have not identified, nor have you identified, any significant adverse environmental impacts from the project, and we have ameliorated any of the concerns with regard to the visual impacts of the one-story structure. At the planning board's request, we have proposed additional landscaping and an increase in the size of the proposed landscaping at the buffer area. Again, we're also proposing those pedestrian improvements as requested by NISDOT, as I just discussed. And we'd like to respectfully remind the board that generalized opposition by the public isn't a reason to deny an application. It's also not a reason to adopt a positive declaration and ask for the preparation of an environmental impact statement in the absence of significant adverse environmental impacts. So there are some comments that were raised by members of the public. Again, I think that some of those comments are exactly the reason why there are concerns about AI and why AI is such a dangerous thing. There are certain comments that were made, for example, with regard to critical environmental areas. This property and this project is not in a critical environmental area. I think we've addressed that both in our submission of March 2nd and April 2nd. We spoke about drainage improvements, which were constructed as part of the last expansion. Those have been successful. The town records indicate that, and there are no records that indicate otherwise. I know that there have been concerns, or somebody has raised concerns about flooding. There hasn't been any event of flooding from this property onto adjacent properties in probably close to a quarter of a century, and certainly not since the last expansion was done in 2007, 2008. There were concerns about security. We provided a contact number and information in our letter of March 2nd, which is a 24/7 number if there are concerns about campus security. There were some concerns about maintenance of the property along Bradhurst Avenue. Again, these are not part of the things that the board should be considering when considering the application before them. However, in the interest of being a good neighbor, we've tried to address some of these comments, even though they're not relevant to the site plan application itself. So again, Blythedale does regular maintenance of its property, not only its property, but along Bradhurst Avenue, in front of its property, adjacent to its property, across the street from its property. There were some concerns about whether or not the school and the school district at the site would be expanded as a result of the number of beds that would be added. We've answered that it will not require expansion to accommodate the beds. One of the things we talked about was the fact that we're seeking 44 beds. And I just wanted to remind the board, and I think we said it in one of our submissions, that that is what we're requesting. The state ultimately approves the number of beds at the property, so they may not approve as many as 44, but that's currently the request. And so that's what the addition has been designed for. We talked about light pollution beyond the exterior wall of the parking deck. We've provided a lighting plan and a photometric plan for you that demonstrates that there is no light spillage from the parking deck, and certainly not across the property line. So I think we can flip. Yep. So is that 7? Page 7? No. Okay. So this drawing shows the existing drainage and grading improvements along Lisa Lane that were done in connection with the last expansion. Again, this is not something that's before you. We are providing this to you as a courtesy and for your information as we go forward with the current application before you. Flip to the next. So these are some of the pictures of the existing drainage and grading improvements that were done in connection with that expansion in 2008. The next plan shows the proposed expansion of drainage adjacent to the parking structure, which is phase 1, and it's been designed to accommodate any additional stormwater runoff, which is as a result of the construction of the parking structure. This slide shows the proposed expansion of the drainage for the site in phases 2 and 3. So that's the infrastructure, the ring road that goes around the rear of the property. And as part of phase 3, which would be the construction of that long-term long-term facility expansion. This is the photometric plan that I just mentioned, which indicates that light pollution will not trespass the parking structure boundaries. This slide shows the revised landscaping plan. Again, we, at your direction, agreed to enhance the landscaping that was originally proposed. We increased calipers by 1 caliper grade. So if something was 6 inches, it became 8 inches. If something was 8 inches, it became 10 inches. And so that is the revised landscaping plan to shield the proposed parking structure from the adjacent residences. This is a view of the property from 5 Lisa Lane. This demonstrates with the new plantings, the view from that property of the parking structure with the landscaping. So we show it at the initial time of planting, 3 years after planting. And you can see the original, what we proposed when we first came in March, and then what we've revised in response to your comments. Similarly, 3 Lisa Lane, the original landscaping plan at the time of the initial planting, the visual 3 years after planting, and then with the revised enhanced landscaping on the right-hand side, the visual at the time of planting, and then 3 years after planting.
Do you have a maintenance plan for those bushes and trees at all?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a maintenance plan for those trees? Meaning, as they get bigger, they grow into the yard, right, of Lisa Lane and such. Do we have a maintenance plan or an idea, or can we put that together?
We can. We
Yeah.
can revise the landscaping plan to include maintenance guidelines for those trees.
Yeah, it's just dotting the i's, crossing
Sure.
the t's.
Next slide. Yeah, so that's the 1 Lisa Lane. So those are the modifications that we've made. Again, we have our entire consulting team here this evening. Dr. Greeley is here as our traffic engineer. He can speak to those DOT improvements, the work that was done with DOT and your independent consultant, as well as your town engineer, if you'd like to hear from him. And again, as I mentioned, we have our consulting team here this evening to answer any additional questions you might have.
Okay, any questions from board members?
Forgive me, I was reading all of the communication and didn't go back to the plans. The garage structure is going over the existing parking lot. Is there any
Yes.
new impervious surface areas in that, for the garage? No, okay. And for the addition, that's over, if I recall from my site visit, there was like a lawn area and walkways.
It's on the south side of the property, adjacent to Grasslands Road, kind of across the street from where the cabin is.
But what is it being built upon? It's, if I recall from walking out there was like a walkway and a grass area, so that will result in some new impervious
Yes.
surface area? Okay.
Yes. That's where the new impervious surface coverage is,
Okay.
for the most part.
Okay, any additional questions or comments from board members?
Question. Have these structures, the garage and the addition, have they been designed with additional capacity so that they can actually be expanded in the future? For example, can the 2-story building become a 3rd story, 3 stories, and can the garage have another floor added on or another 2 floors added on if the need warrants it in the future? But, sir, you're the engineer of record?
Come on up to the mic.
Dan Paisano, JLO, the owner's representative. So our engineer's not here tonight, but I can tell you that we didn't plan to, that's not in our design right now because our intent is to not ever go up any further. We understand the challenges that we've already faced with the parking deck and the height of it, so there's never an intent to exceed that. And we've provisioned the deck to be, give us enough capacity for, additional parking, right? We know we have a challenge now, and there's enough spaces accommodated within this parking deck to ensure we don't have to further expand that deck. So we did not provision to increase the size of the deck. The same thing goes for the long-term care expansion. It's not built for, or it's not designed at this point, which is at a schematic design level, to increase in size to go up.
But you're not sure if it has the capacity to have another floor added on? Or
It's not currently designed that way. Yeah. It's not currently designed to go up. It's not structurally designed at this point for, at least for the long-term care, at a schematic design level to be expanded upon vertically from a structural standpoint.
Any other questions, Walter?
no?
Okay, any other questions from board members? Okay, let the record show there's no additional questions. I will point out, we have another consultant reviewing, Pat, I think you said within a week or two, doing a traffic study, or reviewing the traffic study specifically, when we should have those results within a week or two.
Can I ask about that, Mr. Chairman? You have hired an independent consultant. Labello reviewed the traffic study.
Yep.
We worked with them. We responded to their comments. We received additional comments from your town engineer. We responded to those comments. Both of them were satisfied with the things that we've proposed. And we've also been working with the DOT since October. So
So listen, at the end of the day, we have a lot of people here tonight who are concerned about traffic, right? So this board has the responsibility, and it's a very deep responsibility to ensure that what we're doing is not going to have any adverse effect on traffic. So it's board decisions to do that. We'll get those results back, and we'll read those results, and that's it.
So you're paying, or we are going to end up paying for you to have a second opinion?
Correct.
And why is that? Are you unhappy with the
I'm not going to go
opinions
back and
that?
forth with you on this topic.
No, I
The-
would
the
like to
board-
know,
Well,
Mr. Chairman.
Well, I'm not going to give you an answer.
You're not going to give me an answer?
I already did. The public has said to you repeatedly they're concerned about traffic. We are concerned about traffic. We
Right.
heard the traffic studies,
And we have addressed
and you're
those
getting an answer you don't
concerns.
like.
No, I'm telling
Okay.
you that we have addressed your concerns, and we've worked with your
We would
consultant.
like to get this
Nothing
final
has
study.
changed.
Back.
Nothing has changed.
You understand what I'm saying to you?
No, I don't.
Okay, well then, final comments I'll make on the topic. The board would like to have another consultant look at it. End of story, period.
And at your expense?
No. Okay, so we're here for a public hearing. Anything else?
No.
Okay. We're here for a public hearing.
We need to waive the reading
We do.
again? Okay.
No, it's continued.
Yeah, we did that.
Oh,
Did it
oh,
already. Anything else from anybody from the Blythedale team like to say anything tonight? Okay, so we're here for a public hearing. If anybody from the public is here to address the board on this particular application, we are here tonight to do that. Your information does come to us. It does, we do listen to it, do hear it, and we have to make a decision based on that. I do ask that you keep your topic of conversation specific to the site plan itself. We cannot do much with a motion. We can't do much with, I moved here 30 years ago and I'm used to this or that. We can't do anything with that. What we can listen to are things specific to the site plan. Things that you brought up before. If you brought them up before, there's really not a reason to bring it up again. If there's anything new that you think the board's not aware of, certainly bring it up. But I will try to limit you guys. I'm not going to time you too much, but I'm going to try to keep you guys less than 5 minutes. If you're going too long, I may have to just ask you to wind it down. So with that being said, again, try to be brief, but provide all the detail that you need to do. Okay, show of hands, anybody wants to address the board on this topic? Okay, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Anybody else? Number 5 in the back? You like to be the last one. You would like to be the last guy, number 5. Okay. No, I don't. I don't. Okay, number 1, come on up and address the board.
Hello again. For the record, my name is Michael Savino. I live at 1 Lisa Lane, one of the properties that directly abuts the border with Blythedale Children's Hospital. I've been there since 2001, and I've seen the hospital grow considerably over that time. I apologize in advance for reading, but I want to directly quote some of the things that the hospital replied to in the 3-2 letter, which their lawyer just spoke about. It's a perfect segue because I'm going to talk about a lot of the same things she did, but from a very different standpoint. And I don't know if you have the 3-2 letter there, but just going in order. Light pollution. And this is the hospital's direct quote. The proposed lighting in the parking structure will not result in any light trespass beyond the exterior wall of the parking deck and will not impact nearby residential properties. In addition, although the parking structure is proposed to be located approximately 44.7 feet from the nearest residential property line at 3 Lisa Lane, contrary to the claim of one resident, it is located approximately 140 feet from the residential building on that property. In addition, the proposed substantial landscape buffer will further ensure that light from the proposed parking structure will not impact adjacent properties. I mean, my English is not that good. I've read that paragraph 100 times. I'm still not sure what they're trying to say. It seems to be refuting what the resident claimed, but agreeing with it at the same time. The parking structure, according to the drawings, is 44.7 feet from the property line. I think what they're trying to claim is that the foundation of the resident's home is 140 feet from the foundation, so that makes it better. So, you know, stay in your home and the garage will be 140 feet away, but if you go to the end of your property line, it's 44.5 feet. I mean, for context, 44.5 feet is less than half the distance between home and first base. How is that even acceptable if we're just a parking distance from one's property line? So I'm just really confused what they're trying to convey here. Secondly, the flooding. Again, a direct quote. It was brought to the planning board's attention at the October 20th, 25 public hearing that the owners of 1 Lisa Lane, that's me, had experienced flooding at their home in 2008. We respectfully submit that this flooding event occurred during a very significant storm and there was no evidence that the improvements at the property were the cause of flooding. This is a complete outright lie. I have boxes full of evidence in my attic that the new parking lot was a direct cause of these floods. We hired our own engineer at the time who worked with the hospital's engineers to redesign the entire project. They basically ripped up the whole parking lot, redid it again at their expense to correct all the errors. They go on in their letter to list all the improvements. I think they showed some pictures, the swale, the drain, all that stuff. That's all true, but that was done the second time around to fix the problems they had the first time. And again, I'm not sure why the hospital is bringing this up as part of their response, other than trying to paint the residents of Lisa Lane as liars. This is old news, water under the bridge, so to speak. The reason it was brought up at the last public hearing by us was just to show that the prior parking lot expansion did not go well. And that expansion was further away from us, and we had damage. Now they want to encroach even closer, so needless to say, our fears of additional damage based on their track record are increased. Traffic and accessibility. The hospital hired a firm to do traffic studies, which resulted in the claim that, quote, the project will not increase overall traffic operations in the area. And I'm glad to hear that you were going to take another look at this because I'm an accountant. Talk about math, it's a very simple problem. I have 2 vehicles. If I buy a 3rd vehicle, I just increase the traffic on Bradhurst Avenue. They're talking about 132 new spots, 44 beds, hiring 75 to 100 employees. These are their numbers, not mine. And they're saying that's not going to increase traffic. It's just no way that can be true. It's just mathematically impossible. And if they come back and say that these beds, parking space, and employees won't be fully utilized, then I would say, why are you doing this expansion in the first place? By the way, 210 pages of the hospital's original submission, the 338-page submission, was dedicated to parking and traffic studies. 210 pages to come to the wrong conclusion that I just disproved in 2 seconds with math. Other minor note, none of the maps used in these studies even show or reference Lisa Lane. Every other block from Grasslands Road to Lakeview is on the map and accounted for, but Lisa Lane is overlooked, as usual. Again, another quote, the previously submitted traffic counts were taken on February 8th, 10th, and 11th, 2024, while school break was Monday, February 19th, end quote. Contrary to public accusations. I missed that in the beginning, I'm sorry. Again, the tone of this comment is very unprofessional, calling the residents liars. A resident merely raised the question as to when the counts were done. Thank you for providing that information now. And so they were providing on the 8th, the 10th, and the 11th. That was a Thursday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. They might as well have done it when they were on school break. You should be doing these studies during weekdays, not the weekend. In any event, no matter what a paid contractor tells you about the increase or lack of increase in traffic is irrelevant. Numbers can be twisted to give you the desired effect. And again, I propose this is simply a math problem. Existing conditions along Bradhurst Avenue. I'm sure number 5 is going to talk about this a little more, but this is a quote. The applicant conducts regular maintenance of its campus along Bradhurst Avenue to ensure that conditions of the property are not in disrepair. This includes landscaping, tree maintenance, and repairs and upgrades to the existing fencing along the property line, end quote. I think anyone that drives past Blithedale on a daily basis would strongly disagree with this statement. For comparison purposes, if you just travel down Bradhurst less than a mile, a couple hundred yards, I'm sure you all know where Prospero Nursery is. I'm not sure how many acres they sit on, but I believe it's comparable to the hospital site. You don't even know that place exists. That's proper treatment of a property line. It's like night and day. Lastly, proposed landscaping. This is one area the applicant changed the proposal to include, as the lawyer was just saying, trees 2 feet taller than the original proposal, and provided renderings from the Lisa Lane properties to demonstrate the increased caliper size. There's 3 issues that I see with this. Number one, the pictures that she provided are taken from the ground floor, from Lisa Lane's vantage point from the ground floor. Our floors are 2nd and 3rd floor. The view will be quite different from the 2nd and 3rd floor. We'll be looking on top of this parking structure. Those trees aren't going to hide that. Much of the structure would be visible and audible from the upper floors. Secondly, the proposed height of the parking structure is anywhere from, again, I'm not an engineer, 12 to 26 feet, depending on what drawings you're looking at. But what they fail to mention conveniently is the ground is already elevated. I'm sure you've all been there. The lot is, again, I don't know, 20 feet, 30 feet higher than our property, so they're building on an already elevated structure. And lastly, and again, it was just addressed, any landscaping plan requires maintenance, which the hospital has proven over the years is not one of their strengths. Several residents have submitted pictures of what the current screening looks like, screening in quotes, which show dying and dead trees that don't block much of anything. And I know you've had site visits. We invite you to come to Lisa Lane anytime you want, sit in our backyards, stand in our living rooms and bedrooms, so you can see firsthand the impacts of this proposed structure. Any of the drawings that they can provide, or even any of the pictures that we can provide, don't give you the full picture unless you're actually there and see what's happening. Lastly, the lawyer's letter mentions on 3 separate occasions that they have been around since 1922. They seem to be very proud of that fact, as they should be, but it seems like they're using this information as a reason as to why this application should be approved. Again, quoting what you said, look at the application, not the applicant. This is consistent with their behavior at the last public hearing. After the meeting, the hospital and their people were huddled outside, and the residents were gathered in a different area, and unprovoked, a female voice yelled across the parking lot,
No,
"We were here first."
I don't want to get
All
into
right,
that.
scratch it from the record, but we all heard it. I just think it's extremely unprofessional, and it's telling as to the position. They genuinely believe that being here longer than us and doing the type of work they do gives them the right to do whatever they want.
Let's just keep it to the site plan conversation.
Okay. So that's my comments on the 3-2 letter. The only other area I wanted to talk about is the inflexibility and alternatives. Other than agreeing to plant the taller trees, the hospital has not budged much from its original submission. I've read through all the comments and suggestions submitted by both the town's planning consultant, Patrick Cleary, and the town engineer, Dave Smith. While I don't see the hospital's response to the town engineer's last round of comments, I'll commend the hospital on promptly responding to all the comments. However, their responses could basically be summed up as, thanks for the suggestions, but no thanks. We want to continue with our original plan. We've considered everything, but our way is the best way. So please put us on the agenda for the next planning for continued review. I have many, many examples. I don't want to waste much more time, but just 2. Question from the engineer. What about putting the parking structure on the south side of the property, away from the residents? Answer. Nope, we looked at all the alternatives. The only place that makes sense is up against the backyards of Lisa Lane. Question. What about direct access from Grasslands Road and eliminating the southern driveway? Nope, it's not feasible. We'll check with New York State DOT again, but it's not going to work. One of the board members, I think it was the gentleman on the end, mentioned at the last meeting, engineers are supposed to find a way. It doesn't seem like the hospital is trying to find any other ways to get this project approved other than how it was originally submitted. Just so it's on the record, the 6 residents of Lisa Lane have met with the management of the hospital to discuss other options that would, in our opinion, resolve many of the issues that have been raised since this project's inception. We recognize and deeply respect the hospital's mission and its importance to the community. So after much consideration, we decided to use the hospital's favorite term and be a good neighbor by offering the hospital a unique opportunity to purchase the entirety of Lisa Lane
Okay,
at a third of the price of the current budget.
yeah, that's interesting, but it's immaterial to what this board has to decide.
Is the board aware of that?
You
That
mentioned
this
it once
conversation's
before, but
happened?
You've mentioned it before, but we can only review the application in front of us tonight. What you're talking about is not the application in front of us tonight.
That's true.
So I'm just trying to guide everybody, like, the conversation about the site being in disrepair, you need to call, if it's such a concern for you, call the building. We can't do anything about that on this board. The conversation about the homes, you know, on Lisa Lane, we can't do anything about that. I can only deal with the facts that are in front of me tonight, and that, it's the site plan application that's before us tonight. It's the garage, and it's the expanded use, the road, and all that kind of good stuff. But I can't get into conversations about who said what outside, and I'm saying this for everybody else here tonight. If we have that conversation tonight, I'm just going to politely ask you, refrain from that conversation, because I can't do anything with that. You understand? We need to stick to the facts. We need to stick to site plan specific items. And hearsay, who said what, who did not do what, I can't, it's not even interesting at this point, because we've had so much conversation about the site.
Fair enough, fair enough. I just have one more paragraph, and then you can get rid of me. And I think this is important, even though it's not related to the project at hand, but as an alternative. They seem very inflexible. And we didn't even know if that was something that was possible. But this is a hospital quote, and they said they spoke to the town. Let me not misquote them. We have had informal conversations with town personnel and reviewed market data. After careful consideration, analysis, and discussion with our leadership and board of trustees, we have decided that the timing is not right for Blythedale to move forward with purchasing the Lisa Lane properties. Blythedale has committed to projects already in progress at a significant expense, and we must see these through.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'm going to ask you to wrap that piece up, because again, the purchase of Lisa Lane is not before us tonight.
well, maybe it should be as an alternative. If this, well, that's how I'm going to conclude.
That
Give
would-
them their wishes. End this project right
that-
now.
That would be a new application before this board if they wanted to look at
Obviously.
the site differently.
But for the current project, they want to see it to the end. I respectfully ask the board, grant the hospital their wishes and end this project right now. And lastly, we were told by the former CEO, Larry Levine, I know you're going to say hearsay, but it's on the record. During the last expansion, it would be the final time the hospital would seek an approval to expand. But here they are trying to cram a large-scale project that requires many variances into an already overdeveloped footprint. The hospital admits this themselves by stating variances are necessary due to the constraints of the property. For this and all the reasons that have been presented to the planning board by members of the community, we respectfully ask that you do not allow this project to proceed.
All right.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. And thank you for coming out tonight and presenting what you wanted to present. And I'm going to just make this comment to everybody, the same thing. Like, we've heard a lot already. So the conversation about who said what, again, Mr. Levine, not Mr. Levine, like, it's interesting, but it's not really appropriate for tonight. We have to talk specifically at this point in the journey about site plan specific items. So that means the road, the traffic, the loop road, the garage, the landscaping plan. I can't entertain these conversations. I just can't. We should not do that. So, but everything else was, a lot of it was pertinent and something to think about, but the other stuff, I'm going to ask the other folks to rein it in if you can.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Okay, number 2. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Megan Chiappa. I live at 5 Lisa Lane. I'm here to speak on behalf of their Blythedale submission on March 2nd. And as I sat here and listened, it must be nice to say the proposed things that they would like to happen. However, I live there, and the reality of what's happening there is more real and important to what we could say is going to happen. I want to thank Mr. Hickey for bringing up the point of asking them if there is room in the future to build upwards, because as stated in their application, you know, they've been here since 1922 and they have needed space time after time after time. It's 2026 and they've run out of space and now they're going up. And I thank you for bringing up that point, because 5-10 years from now, we'll be standing here with that application that they want to move further up. At what point does it end? Okay, you know, this is a residential area, Lisa Lane. Maybe not the corner, by the cabin, grasslands, but Lisa Lane is residential. No one is going to come into my house when I want to sell it and purchase my home, potentially with a parking garage 44 feet from my property line. 140 feet from my bedroom window that is on the second floor, facing the parking garage. Right now, I have snow plows and cars. I can read license plates from my bedroom window of the from the current parking lot because the trees that are there are dead, are not existent. There's garbage lining the property line between my house and their property. I took a walk there this past weekend, or actually it was Monday, whatever day, it was really nice. I took pictures, I sent them to you. Do I want to get into the graphics of what I saw? No. But condom wrappers,
Okay, so if there's building issues, that's the building department.
I understand. And I'm just here to say the reality of things.
Understood.
The reality of things are that my children play in my yard with my neighbors at 3 Lisa Lane, who are the same age. They're under 7 years old. We have people, again, I know this is a current thing, but we have people looking, hanging out in their cars, smoking weed, having themselves a good old time. But we live there. And this is what we're seeing. This is not someone sitting behind a fancy computer screen proposing what could happen.
So I'm just going to guide you a little bit just back to the site plan specific issues. I hear your conversation, and I'm empathetic to everybody who has an application before us. I hear the stories, but again, you know, I can't do much with, but the site plan specific items that you have, those we can listen to and hear.
Okay, so I'll just stick to the setback, right? The 200 foot, they're at 44.7 feet. That's not within the required setback, okay? That's not a minor adjustment, it's a major one, okay? We talked about landscaping. I'll close with this. I mean, the reality is no one, like I said, is gonna wanna buy a home with a parking structure that close to my property, okay? You can drive onto Lisa Lane and you will see that parking structure. You don't need to come to the back of my home to see it. You can pull right onto the street and you will see it between 3 and 5 Lisa Lane because there's not a house in that turn, if you understand. If you drove by or if you came onto the street, you would see that. So you will see it from Bradhurst Avenue, never mind my backyard. So I just want to put on record that, you know, it's my understanding that this is exactly why these zoning protections exist and why they must be upheld. And that's probably for the zoning board or whoever. I'm just a phys ed teacher. I'm just here to...
You are a phys ed teacher. You're not just a phys ed teacher.
No, I
Make
understand,
sure you say
but-
that. But I just want to point out one thing. Those zoning conversations should happen at the zoning board,
Okay.
not at the planning board. I encourage you to participate in the municipal process and go to the zoning board meeting when and if it does happen.
Okay. And lastly, you know, sitting behind me, I feel, it's my again, you don't want my feelings, but their application is breaking the code and they know it and they don't care. And that's a big part of the problem here.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, thank you.
Have a
for
good
coming.
night.
Thank you
Thanks.
for coming out tonight. Okay, so that was number 2. Number 3. Number 3. There was a 3.
I won't be getting up because I was going to be speaking about the incredible opportunity Lisa Lane has offered.
Yeah, we can't even hear that conversation. It's not germane to tonight. So that's number 4.
Good evening, Chairman Collins, board members. Nice to see you again.
Good evening.
I'm actually not sure where I want to begin.
I'll just start you really quick, just your name and all that for the record.
Sean Quigley. I've been thinking about your predecessor
Yeah.
recently. I want to just take 1 minute to share with the board something that I heard him say at a board meeting that I was a part of several years ago. It was the Brightview project. 10 o'clock at night, I was sitting right over here behind Mr. Cleary with some neighbors. And Brightview came in with David Steinmetz, JMC Consulting, AKRF, all the heavy hitters. And they did their presentation, 20 minutes or so. And I'll never forget what Mike McLaughlin said to Mr. Steinmetz after they finished presenting. He looked at him straight in his face and he said, "You know, Mr. Steinmetz, you and your team like to come in here and shine the apple for me and my board members." And Mr. Collins, you were sitting right next to him, and I believe Mr. Bott, you were there, Mr. Piazza was there. I'll never forget that. It resonated with me then, and it resonates with me tonight. What I just heard and what I've been hearing from this team behind me is shining the apple times 1,000. That's what I've been hearing about this petition. I heard Ms. Giras mention AI and critical environmental area. Let me tell you something. I have leveraged every possible tool that I could think of. It's me against the whole team of high-priced lawyers and consultants. It wasn't AI that put in 8 FOIA requests to Carolyn Saraceno the last 10 months and spent hours in this conference room back here over multiple days going through this record. It wasn't AI that submitted 3 FOIA requests to the town of Greenberg, finding out that there was a critical environmental area adjacent to their property. I never said it was part of it, I said it was adjacent to it. I have leveraged everything to put my comments together. The last letter I just submitted this week was all based on the town record. I have an attorney tonight saying there wasn't any flooding since the last expansion in 2008. But in her memo that my neighbor just read, she didn't say that. She didn't say that. She didn't say that. She didn't say that there was flooding there. She said there wasn't flooding. There was no evidence that the improvements at the property were the cause of the flooding. Contradicted herself right in front of the board. What else in this memo is contradiction? What else? I sent that letter in this week. That's all based on the record. Every single page of it. With photographs. With comments from building inspector, Mr. Cleary, engineers, even the supervisor at the time, Meehan. Stunning. I saw the nice drawing of the DOT with the crosswalks. You know why the DOT is an involved agency now? It's not because of them. It's because of me. That's why they're an involved agency now, because of my letter last summer requesting it. Was it AI that took photographs of handicapped children coming out of this hospital being pushed into 2 of the most treacherous roadways in our town, if not the county? Was that AI? Was it AI taking photographs of their employees zigzagging into 2 of the busiest roads? No crosswalks, no sidewalks, no signaling. It's interesting. In their opening submission over a year ago on March 14th, there was nothing in there about that intersection. Go back and look. There was nothing in there about it. And it took me and my neighbors to go out with a camera and take pictures. I'd invite any one of you to go pull into the Cabin Restaurant on any given day, and you tell me what you see. You tell me what you see on that street. Right where that father, I'm assuming it's a father, was with his handicapped child coming out of their hospital that crossed over Bradhurst and was pushing up towards Grasslands Road. Do you know how many concrete trucks that I've seen make the turn off of Bradhurst to go, make the turn off of Grasslands to go north on Bradhurst that are delivering material to the mausoleum that this board built? You know how many concrete trucks coming from the yard over on Virginia Road? Hundreds. Landing right where that father was with his kid in a wheelchair. I don't take the bus. But we know who takes the bus, and none of you take the bus. And none of them sure as hell don't take the bus. It's their employees who got to get from point A to point B, and they got to navigate 2 of the most busiest roads in our town. And they haven't done a damn thing about it, and they like to brag about 100 years that they're in operation. Well, they've been pushing handicapped kids in the street for 100 years. DOT wasn't involved. I saw the drawing in her submission. How much more of that letter we have to dissect and say, enough's enough. Mr. Cleary asked them a year ago tomorrow in his memo. He asked them for an alternative site plan. Modifications, scale it back, bring it down. April 3rd last year, that was Mr. Cleary's memo. Never saw anything in a record come in on that. You know why? They want what they want. And one thing I learned after looking through stacks of piles that Carolyn and Nancy Sorrell in engineering have provided me in this building is one thing that is very common. And one thing that I learned, the level of deference that this town has provided to this hospital over the last 30 to 40 years is astonishing. It's astonishing. And that's because it's a hospital. Negative declarations, uncoordinated reviews.
So can I guide you toward more site plan specific items now at this point? If you don't mind.
No design modification for the site plan, as per Mr. Cleary. He asked about what is the plan and the impact for hauling out 250 truckloads of 10,000 cubic yards of fill. So you're going to have a construction site, an active construction site, hauling out 10,000 cubic yards of full, 250 truckloads. He asked for impacts and he asked for a plan. What's the plan for that? Nothing. I've seen nothing. Site plan? That's a big part of the site plan. And then you have people in wheelchairs and employees going out into the road. You're going to have dump trucks coming out. I said at the beginning of this, in my letters, and I've said it in the first public hearing, Mr. Collins, I'm not opposed to what they do. What I am opposed to, and it sure looks like they got rubber stamped years ago, and I know you don't like that term, but I read the record. And when you start giving waivers on parking setbacks back in 2007, uncoordinated reviews, negative that's a huge, huge problem. I'm not opposed to what they do. I'm opposed to a negative declaration. Why wouldn't they want an environmental impact statement? Ask yourself that question. Why wouldn't they? We all know why. It's too expensive, too time-consuming, and they don't want project delays. They want what they want. Their employees and their patients are going out into the roadway. You would think they would want that. Let's do it the right way. Let's look at everything. The town has stepped up. Let's get another independent consultant on traffic. Great. But how about the other things? Why wouldn't they want an environmental impact statement? Why wouldn't they want a positive? Listen, let's do it. They're asking for a lot here. They are asking for a lot. And they've gotten a lot from this town, from what I can see in the record. So I think it should, I ended my comments on October 20th in the first public hearing. My last two sentences to this board was, I think there should be a positive declaration and with an environmental impact statement completed. And that's how I feel that way. I feel stronger about that now than I did then, 8 months ago.
Thank you, Mr. Quigley.
Right? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and again, we're going to keep it definitely to the site plan, specific items. And we're going to, I'm not.
After that, I shouldn't even speak. My
Well,
name's
no,
Glenn Acasella.
Hold on.
I live in Valhalla.
Hold on. I just want to make sure we set the ground. Because I want to make sure people, because I don't want to hear he said, she said again. I don't want to hear accusations of this or that. I want to hear specific site plan concerns at this point tonight.
I'm going to tell you one thing first, because it was brought up several times.
Yep.
I talked to John Flanagan personally about these people. And AI, I took every one of those pictures that Mr. Quigley has there. On my phone, I can give it to you right now, and you can look at them. Okay? But I talked to John Flanagan. I said, John, I live across the street on Bradhurst from this hospital. You got to talk to these people in the wheelchair, the baby, the carriages, and everything else that goes up that street. And he told me, I'm going to finish this 1 second, because they brought up stuff.
No, like we have to.
I know what you got to do, and I'll get there. But they told me that once they leave the hospital, it's not their problem. And I'm telling you right here, that's what he told me. And if he denies it, then they're all liars.
Okay, we've heard about that already.
And now let's get to the traffic.
Thank you.
Okay, I've been here for 4 decades in this property. you can't get out of that property sometimes of the day. Now, I'm not saying it's all for them, but most of it is. Any of the traffic that comes out of that south driveway, 95% of it, and I've been around for 4 months over the winter, most of all school buses that come out of there, and 90% of the cars all make a right turn to go Grasslands to the spring. I watched it. I sat there. Okay? So we have to look at that intersection. I don't think you should be able to put a shed on that property. And somebody mentioned about the project over there at the nursery they did it for sparrows. They had to knock down 4 buildings on that property. You can check with Greenberg to build one. So they should have to look at maybe getting rid of the house or how they can do things with giving up some. That lot coverage is way overdeveloped. They can't just keep building. It doesn't stop. And like he said about the parking garage, they say they can't do things until they can. Look at the record. Back in 07 or 08, I asked them about the ring road. I didn't call it the ring road, but I asked them about going around the back. And you can look into the record, and they said they can't do it until they can. Now all of a sudden they can do this because they want what they want.
Can you do me a favor, just not yell at the board?
I'm not yelling at you. It's just the way I get. You know that. You've been around long enough. I think most of you are.
But you are.
Okay, I'm sorry. So maybe we should move the mic a little bit away, okay?
Okay.
So that I can speak, and I'm not yelling. But no, serious. I'm there because these are high-paid people that come here and try to put a good spin on it. I lived there for over 30 years going on into my 4th decade there, and the traffic is crazy. I sit there and watch this traffic. The people that live on Lisa Lane, they're to the side. Yes, it's going to affect them because it's their backyard. But I see everything come by. I see the people that don't let me come out of their driveway, and I see where they're coming from. And I sit at the light with these aggressive school buses and almost get into fights with everyone because they think they have a right to pull out of there. We have to look at that driveway. I sent pictures into Caroline just recently when the traffic is stacked up into the intersection, okay? Stacked up. Now you got the whole intersection of Grasslands and Bradhurst and Norwood backed up because somebody's trying to make a left there. We have to look at it, in my opinion, and I'm not one of these high-powered, high-paid traffic analysts. I'm just somebody that drives on the roads and witnesses. But you got to either have the state involved and put in a right turn to alleviate the traffic on Bradhurst, or they got to look into a driveway going west, coming out of their facility, and coming west on Grasslands to go into their facility. So a right turn in and a right turn out. That I think would alleviate some of the traffic that is sitting at Bradhurst Avenue. The main thing is Bradhurst. The main thing is more traffic that they're bringing in. Go over there any time of the day. Drive up there and see how many cars are in that parking lot. They have valet parking. They can't fit what they have there now and they want to expand on it. And then they say they're not going to expand the school. I was going to use another word, but I'm not going to say it. That they told us that wasn't going to happen, and then the school came along, we can't do nothing about it. They'd expand this hospital 50%. How are they not going to have to expand the school?
Okay, let's just, and I know you're passionate, but you are yelling at the board again.
I'm not yelling, okay?
But
maybe I need a hearing aid and I speak loud. You sound like my daughter now, okay? So don't take it personally.
No, okay. So
All right?
I want to address the traffic conversation. And you brought up some points that we are using belts and suspenders to having an additional analysis done of the traffic. So that's going to guide the board. We've heard many different studies on traffic. We also live in town. I live in town. Everybody here lives in town. We all drive by the facility. I drive by probably at least 3 or 4 times a week, so I'm very aware of the traffic situation on that road. As a resident, as a member of the planning board and as a chairman, I'm also aware of the traffic studies that have come out and read them thoroughly and understood them as well. So we're taking all the information in and we're assimilating it and going to have to make a decision at some point what we're going to do. I hear what you're saying, but I can only address questions that are specific to the site plan.
I agree. And I apologize for speaking loud. I get passionate when I talk, and I'm passionate about this. I live there, and if this gets approved, I'm probably going to have to move. So maybe I should be the 7th home that they buy out, because I'm going to sell anyway, because who wants to live across the street from this? When I moved there was only a little facility. Maybe it wasn't like back in the 1920s, but we got to look at the traffic before you think of anything going forward.
Yep.
You have to think of a positive declaration of this. You have to. It has to be looked at studies that come out of that.
Okay.
All right? And I know we want to go, and I'm not supposed to hold it, and I apologize for speaking loud, but when we had the big blizzard, you know where they put the snow? good neighbors across the street on Thomas, into the neighbors on Thomas Place. I had to call the police and tell them you're blocking the roadway for driving through.
And that's the right thing. This board, I can't shovel that
And just
snow out of
because
there.
she brought it up, anybody
So-
drive by there first thing tomorrow morning,
So,
see how
oh.
much garbage is along the road.
Okay, and all
Thank
those,
you.
those are,
And again, I
Points.
apologize to all of you. Don't take
I
it personally.
appreciate the
Speak
passion.
loud, I get passionate,
I appreciate the passion. but
especially when
thank you.
people ain't being honest with you.
Okay, so we were, lost the numbers here. Does anybody remember our number?
That's it.
That's it, okay. Okay, so we did hear from the public tonight. We also heard from the applicant. We also have, we're waiting on some traffic study to come back, or analysis of the study. So that's where we are at this point. Any comments or questions from the board at this point?
I have a comment. So somebody brought up the dates of the traffic study, that it was a Saturday, Sunday. And if we're going to re-look at those, are we looking at dates that are flawed?
I had a similar question. I wanted to know if the,
I don't know if I should use the word flawed, but if they're not accurate dates of when traffic would be.
is the traffic consultant that we're hiring analyzing their study or conducting their own study?
Analyzing the applicant's stuff.
And at the end of that, they'll either say it meets standards, industry standards, or they'll say it's defective and they should redo some counts.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? He's going to address your
Nope,
question. That was
we're
it.
good. We're good.
Good evening. Philip Greeley from Colliers Engineering and Design.
Yeah.
We prepared the traffic impact study. I'm a professional engineer in New York State. I don't own anymore, but I owned for 30 years property at 11 Bradhurst Avenue, so I'm very familiar with the area. In terms of some of the comments that were made, and then I'll address the board comments, I just wanted to clarify some things on the record. So relative to Mr. Savino's comments, the traffic study does include additional trips for the expanded facility. In addition, as requested by the town engineer, we did a second, and it was summarized in table 1 of the traffic study, all the trips by the peak hours. At the request of the town engineer, we did a second analysis, what we call a sensitivity analysis, with higher trip generation estimates using a more conservative approach. Standard criteria that we follow, that the state requires, and other, consultants will use. In terms of the dates of the traffic study and the traffic counts, so we look at weekday peaks, morning, afternoon, we have 12-hour counts. In addition, we have 2 state roads there. The state has their own data, so we rely on that data also. And we look at historical data, so not just our own data. And that's what was reviewed by the previous consultant. In terms of why do we look at weekends? Because there was an issue with parking. So the weekends were looked at really to see what happens relative to parking additions on the weekend. So not only the weekdays, but we also look at weekends. In terms of improvements and the involved agency, New York State DOT is what's called an involved agency because it's their roadway that we have access to. They have to review the project on the requirements, on the seeker. They did review, and they provided comments. They've given us direction. The improvements that are identified in the slide that Ms. Garris showed will be done under a permit with New York State DOT at the applicant's expense. There will also be some signal upgrades. So, not that we're talking about AI, but what's happening with signals now is they're more reactive to actual loadings. So part of the signal adjustments is what's called adaptive traffic. So we have identified that the project in phase 3 will generate more traffic, and we've offset that traffic. I think it was Mr. Apicello mentioned about the traffic making a right turn from Bradhurst onto Grasslands. That's correct. We have that in our data. It shows the breakdown of the turning movements. In terms of the most recent correspondence we received from the town dated today from Mr. Smith, he mentions that we're making some changes to the signal timing and brought up the fact that there was some increased queues, but he didn't really, he left it up to the DOT, but he did not point out that with the modifications that we were actually reducing the delays at the intersection. And again, that's using the more conservative trip estimates that your town engineer asked us to analyze. So in terms of the base traffic counts, we focus on the peak hours. We have what the data is. That's included in the analysis, and we clearly show projections in Table 1 and I think it's 1S, which was done to respond to your town engineer. And going forward, we will work with the DOT on the permit, with the improvements that we're making. They reviewed potential access directly to grasslands. They said they would not permit it, and there's also a restriction because of the ramp onto the Springbrook Parkway that's called without access. So, again, you're going to have another consultant review it, and we'll respond to any comments. So I just wanted to get that on the record for you.
Thank you.
Bill, can you clarify the date that counts were done with the school in session?
Yeah, so and we'll get all the dates to you, but they were done in February of 2024, and then there's counts that the DOT had done in 24 and 25, and we'll get all the dates to
And we'll
you.
have all that package, for the public when it's ready with the new analysis.
With the supplemental analysis, yeah.
Right, the supplemental analysis. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, any questions or comments from board members at this point? I just want to say thank you for coming up, folks. This is a time of rebirth and renewal and Easter and Passover and many other holidays that are out there. And some of the conversation tonight was disappointing by the applicant as well as some of the members of the public. We're here to professionally hear things that we need to hear. We have to assimilate and dissect this information. Let's try, in the spirit of this season, to avoid that rhetoric, because it makes it very difficult for the board to process the information that we need to process. With that being said, any final comments or questions from the applicant?
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. I am going to be truthful with you. We're disappointed in the fact that you feel the need for the additional traffic study. We recognize it. We'll wait for it. We'll address it when it comes. I think that we've submitted a number of different responses. We'd like to make sure that you carefully review those. I know you do carefully review all of the submissions that you get. I think that there are certain things that are required as a matter of law, and I think that our submissions are clear as to what you should be reviewing as a matter of law. As a representative for Blythedale and as somebody who has an application before you, I'd just like to respectfully remind you that when you are reviewing something and you are looking at traffic, for example, Blythedale is not responsible for correcting the existing condition that's there. It's already there. What we're required to do is look at what we're adding to that and trying to mitigate that to the maximum extent practicable. So that's what's being proposed, and I'd just like you to take note of that. Similarly with all of the other areas of concern that you raised, visual impacts, stormwater management, landscaping, all of those things. So I think that the record speaks for itself. I think that there have been a lot of misrepresentations in some of the materials that have been submitted to you, whether it's something that was done deliberately or not. I'm not suggesting that it was. I'm just suggesting that as a matter of law and as a matter of fact, it's not right. So I'd like you to please review what we've submitted carefully, and we look forward to hearing from your consultant and addressing whatever those comments are.
All right, thank you for coming out tonight. Okay, so we have a public hearing. What is the pleasure of the board?
There's somebody else.
I will entertain one question, one brief question. Come up to the mic. And that's it, guys, because we have applications behind us.
I just want to ask, is, in that 210-page report, sum it up in 2 sentences. Is the conclusion that this project will not increase traffic?
Okay,
That's all I want, that's what's in the writing.
Just, again, to put on the record, in the traffic report in Table 1, it shows the increased traffic which is projected for the project. Supplement to that, as requested by your town engineer, and those were based on the expansion numbers in terms of number of beds and looking what the current site generates. In response to your town engineer, we did a second analysis, which is shown in Table 1S of the supplemental submission, that shows even higher generation, new trips that would be generated by the expansion, and that's what's included in the study.
okay, thank you.
It will increase traffic. My understanding
Yeah.
is correct? Okay.
So,
That's not what the lawyer's letter said.
okay, we're moving on.
We're mitigating
moving on.
our increase. That's, I believe,
Thank
what
you.
the attorney
Thank you for
said.
coming out. We are
Thank you.
moving on. Okay, so we have a public hearing open. We are waiting for a traffic study to come back. What is the thought from the board regarding the public hearing?
There's an option to extend the public hearing, is correct?
Option A, that is one of the options.
Well, it's either extend it or close it.
Right.
That's what we're doing. Should we keep it open until we have the results of the traffic engineer's review?
So because the traffic engineer is committing to do this promptly, I think a 2-week adjournment to the next meeting is appropriate. Allow them to do their work.
And that traffic engineer will prepare a letter or a report of some kind?
Yes.
And can we make that available to the board and to the public?
Of
So
course.
that, okay. And so we have a meeting in 2 weeks? Okay. Okay, and would we have the applicant come back and close the public hearing, or would we take public comment, or?
It would be, if you continue the public hearing, the public would have an opportunity to comment.
Okay.
Okay, so what is the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion that we adjourn the public hearing?
So we have a motion to adjourn the public hearing. And we have a second?
I second it.
Second from Steve. So motion from Eileen, second from Steve. So Walter?
I say nay. I'd like to keep the public hearing open.
That's what you're doing. You're continuing it to the next
Okay,
meeting.
I'm sorry. I thought you were
Walter?
closing it. So aye.
Aye. Jane?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And aye for me. Okay, thank you very much. We're going on to the next application, which is a brand-new public hearing. I'll read it and remind me to waive the reading of the public notice.
I'm going to make a motion that we waive the reading of the public notice.
We already have, I said, I'm proud of myself for catching myself. We have a motion from Jane,
Second.
second from Eileen. Walter?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And an aye from me. Okay, I'll read it out now. New public hearing proposed vacant parcel, Bradhurst Avenue, Jackson Avenue, development of a new single-family dwelling on a vacant parcel. Application steep slopes SS 25-17, location vacant parcel, Jackson Avenue, section block lot number is 112.9-1-2, zone R10, owner Brighton Avenue Properties LLC, applicant contract Vendee, Quillen Homes Incorporated, engineer Cacciopoli Engineering. I probably didn't do that right again.
No, you did, actually.
All right. Just 1 second before you start. Folks, I just need you guys to quiet the room a little bit so we can proceed on to the next application. Okay, thank you for coming out tonight. Just state your
Absolutely.
name and all that for the record.
Sure. Greg Cacciopoli, engineer on the project representing the applicant, Contract Vendee, Coolin Homes. The application before you is the construction of a single-family residence on a currently vacant lot that's approximately .8 acres with associated impervious surfaces and stormwater management on site. It does require crossing steep slopes to access the property, or to access the home, which is why we're before you. There's some tree removals, which we've identified, and no wetlands, no floodplains. And that's pretty much a brief summary of it.
So you're addressing the public, and the public will be asking you questions, I'm sure.
Sure.
Is there anything else you want to talk about, the proximity to the adjoining homes? How close are you to the homes next to you, do you know?
Yeah. So, right, so the home to the west of us, which is on this side of the property, let me just pull up the site plan with the setbacks. Yes, we're approximately 15 feet, 15.4 to be exact, feet off of the westerly property line. Off the rear property line, 30.8, and a significant amount off the easterly property line. Part of this was to address comments about keeping the driveway away from the intersection, also trying to avoid steep slope disturbance, driveway access because the steepness of the driveway, trying to balance the amount of cut and fill. All of these were considerations in placement of the home. But those are the distances that we found up with.
Okay, any questions or comments from board members? Okay, let the record show no questions or comments from board members at this time. So we are here for a public hearing. We waived the reading of the public notice, but we do have members of the public here, I believe. So if you're here to address this application for Jackson Avenue, please raise your hand. We'll give you a number. If you have a number, you can speak. So number 1, number 2, and number 3. All in a row. Just state your name, all that for the record.
Good evening, everyone. Name's Hector Rivera. I live on 344 Jackson, the lot that's directly adjacent. I would say I'm east of their lot. Just a couple of concerns as far as, he was mentioning the slopes. It's more like pretty much like a cliff, and it's going to, so what I heard was it's going to be about between 125, 150 truckloads of fill that has to, come into our neighborhood. Now, question is, how is this going to be conducted? Is this going to be on a daily basis, obviously, and are they going to be, blocking our driveways, because, Jackson Avenue is not that big.
And just pause, I want to understand the point, it's a good point.
Yeah.
So your concern is, I'll paraphrase back to, is during the construction phase, how do we manage all the construction traffic?
Correct.
Well, we do have a building department that is involved with that. They have rules they have to follow, and guidelines they have to follow. If they do not follow those rules and guidelines, make a call.
Make a phone call.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to address that
No,
one
it's
question.
okay. Okay. That's why I'm asking,
Yeah.
If you never ask, the answer will always be no. My mother told me so.
Yeah.
That, and, again, we just had our street literally paved, like
Yeah.
beautiful, my neighbors attest to that. And it's been, I've only been there for 15 years, but that's where my wife actually grew up, and she's been there for over 30. And it looks beautiful. And we're kind of concerned on what 150 trucks are going to do to our nice, street there. And if so, will they be able to start fixing it? And since I'm adjacent to them, there's a lot of trees adjacent to, and I'm talking about trees that are 40 feet high. Is that going to affect my driveway when they're cutting them down? And are they going to be breaking up my driveway? Am I responsible for fixing that? Are they responsible for fixing that? I mean, those are just concerns of mine, being that I'm directly adjacent to
So
the project that's going to be going on.
probably answer a couple of those questions. So if the street is damaged due to the construction phase, they have a bond, correct?
Correct.
And the bond would have to be drawn upon to repair the road.
Or the development would repair it. First, if he doesn't, we have a bond. So belt and suspenders.
So that's the process or the methodology that
Right.
is in place for them to do that?
Right.
And I think the other one was trees. I'm sorry, what was?
Well, the trees, I mean, you know, the trees are, you know, 30, 40 feet high. I mean, this was, you know.
On the
it's-
site itself?
Yes, on site itself, you know what I mean? They're huge. And I'm not sure if you guys pass by, you know, but my house is, my 344, I'm the red house, and if you're looking at my house, west of my house is the property, I mean, you know.
This is your driveway here?
That's correct, that is correct.
So these, I think
So-
it's these 3 trees that he's.
Those 3 trees, and I mean, you're talking about
Me-
trees all here,
Just-
that are hanging over my driveway.
Just stick with the mic, because there's
I'm sorry,
people who,
sorry.
there's people watching you.
Sorry. I'm addressing, this here. Yes, those 3 trees that he addressed, yes, that is correct, those are, but I'm talking about the ones that are just on the other side of my property, that are actually overlapping throughout the years, that they've grown 30, 40, 50 feet, you know, high. You know, I mean, I'm not a biologist, but guesstimating, you know, and, you know, like I said, that's my house there. And, you know, that's just cause for concern for me, you know,
The size
when
of the
they.
trees there now is the concern, I'm sorry, the size of the trees that are there now are.
Oh,
a
yeah,
concern?
and some of them are leaning over, you know, on my property from theirs, you know, but that's through storms and things like that. I've actually seen it before and heard
So
them.
that, let's click into that for a second, double click into that.
Yeah.
So that's something we can talk about.
Yes.
At this board.
Yeah.
If there's trees that are growing over your home or over your property and you feel they're a danger to your property.
Well, not on directly over my house, right, not directly over my house, but directly on my property. And I do have
So
a
if the
driveway
tree,
that,
if the tree fell down, would it cause damage on your property?
yes, it will.
Okay.
Yes, it will.
So-
Absolutely. I have a carport where I have my cars, and that will, that they are in direct line of if they were to fall onto my property, damage my vehicles, my carport.
So I would suggest that we figure out a plan, that we do a tree management plan of some kind for,
How they're gonna cut them down, or, you know. Go ahead, sorry, man.
So I think, you know, there's tree specialists, tree contractors that have methods to cutting down trees. And I think, if I heard the concern correctly, it's that the trees that are along the property line kind of hang over toward your house.
Correct.
Right.
I mean, that's me. Felix of Fatima Rivera, that's me.
Right, so I mean, when they're cutting trees, they cut at certain angles and then tie ropes and pull tension on it
I understand that, yeah.
so that it drops in a certain direction. I mean, it's part of their profession.
Ripping things up from the
Oh.
ground, the roots.
Well,
you
we
know.
can specify them to just grind stumps
so
instead of
let me
rip
just
them
get
out.
back to the trees. Are we removing those trees, yes or no?
Yeah, we're removing 3 trees along the property line that he's talking about, so it is a valid concern, but I think we can specify grinding the stumps instead of just ripping them out so that the roots
Yeah,
don't.
Well, full disclosure, I had a couple trees removed from my property. I don't know how they did it. Last summer, they did. And they know what they're doing.
Right.
So I'm not concerned.
I have no issues with that whatsoever. I
But,
totally agree with
but
that.
I don't want you left with stumps either.
Correct. That's
Okay.
what I don't want, because I would like to have nice green grass there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want,
Are the trees on your property or his property?
they're on mine, but,
Are they your,
Oh.
no, they're yours, they're his. They're on
Okay.
his property, but they're overlapping on mine, is what I'm saying.
So they're, but you're removing those trees.
But they're removing those trees because, you know.
Correct.
It's for his site.
Due to grading. It's due to fill. That's why the trees are being
so
proposed for removal.
we want to make sure that he's left with something that he can manage.
Right.
Right, so if we're
Right.
cutting
Those are
down.
just concerns of mine. I mean, I know
So
we're
it-
not just that when.
Hold on, Mr. Rivera.
with it- with
When-
clearing
But
everything out.
now's the time to talk about it, because I don't want to lose a conversation that
Absolutely.
it has to
I'm
happen.
gonna be here for the next one. I've been here for all the
Okay.
ones last year, so.
Okay.
Well,
Time, I got it,
Yeah.
trust me. This one, others, I don't know 100%, but this one I got.
Yeah.
So if he's got a tree that you're cutting down, you're responsible for making sure that tree, it's on your property and his property, maybe halfway between, but I think, in good faith, you should grind the stump and leave him with something that's,
Well, I mean, we're actually proposing to raise the grade in this area, so the stump is gonna be gone. There's gonna be grass.
what do you mean gone?
It's gonna be, well, right
Covered in
now,
fill.
for instance, the base of the tree is at '06, and we're coming up to 310.
But I want to ask, what does gone mean? I know what the answer is.
It'll be grinded out so that
That's what I wanna
doesn't
hear.
cause for a sinkhole, and
Right.
then, they'll fill.
But it's a good, because I don't want you to fill, I don't want
On
you to
top of a
fill on
stump.
top of a stump.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
because it's gonna-
that's
it's
common
just
practice.
gonna come right back up. And I'm kind of leery as far as them ripping it
Yeah.
up, because then all the roots are gonna come up, and then my
Yes.
drive,
Well,
the
that's-
pieces of my driveway
that's-
come up, and then eventually.
And we have building, and all of them can help you with that conversation too, but
I don't mind
I
in
can
the
publicly
driveway, I mean,
state my opinion, that let's just be good neighbors. As my predecessor would say, have a cup of coffee with the neighbor, make sure we do the right thing, and
Right,
make
of
sure he's
course.
happy.
Listen, it's so much easier to be kind in this
Yeah.
world, and I've learned that as I've gotten older.
Okay.
I grew up in Brooklyn, anyway, I don't wanna go into that, but anyway.
If you show me slides, if you're growing up, I'm out of here. All right, so anything else besides the street conversation?
No, that's all, just a traffic concern, my neighbors and I, we're gonna have to hear this beeping on a Saturday morning, it's good. Listen, I'm in sales, it has nothing to do with it, but I leave my home, I make my own schedule, and sometimes I like to sleep till 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't wanna hear beep, beep, beep,
Well,
beep, 10 o'clock in the morning
that's all.
with six other trucks
Yeah, but
on my block.
we can't, there's a whole code enforcement that happens. We don't manage that.
Okay,
We're not the guys to talk to.
Again, if I
Those
don't
guys,
say-
those guys you talk to.
Again, if I don't bring it up, it'll always be no, I don't know if I should bring it up here, now I know,
No,
so. we'll bring it up
but
next
he happens to be here tonight, so he heard the conversation, so it's a good thing for you.
I just want to pass a comment about the fill process,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
so you're comfortable. They, by our regulations, they have to, the fill that they bring has to be tested, certified, and those certifications have to come to my office before they're allowed to bring that fill on the property.
Right.
So it's gonna be clean.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about no contaminants or no nothing.
Now, let me ask you this, is it gonna be one truck at a time that's gonna be coming down?
Now, that I can't, I don't know that.
That's
But
my
you gotta
personal
understand
concern.
one thing.
I don't think you guys are gonna
Once,
dump.
once they're under our building permit,
Right.
they have the right to work between 8 and 5 o'clock. Okay, so that's the code.
Okay.
Everybody's gotta understand,
Right.
we can't restrict them from working
Of
when the
course
code
not.
says they can do
Of
that.
course not.
But we will monitor what's going on, mark my words, my
I'm
guys will
gonna
be over there
monitor.
monitoring.
I'm gonna be
Okay.
monitoring
Oh, that's fine,
too.
and if you have any problems, you call my office. So,
Listen, we have hard.
Okay.
We're there, we're there, we're there.
We have,
You know?
okay, Mr.
What's your name again? Greg, Hector, man, nice to
Okay,
meet
I
you.
can see you're in sales. Anything else, Mr. Rivera?
No, that's all, thank you so
Okay,
much for your
number-
time, I
number-
appreciate it.
Number 2.
Yes, thank you, guys.
Thank you. Oh, thank you for coming out tonight, too. Hey, how are you?
Good to see you guys again.
You as well.
I live at 338 Jackson Avenue.
338?
338, yeah, right next door to Hector. I was going to comment on the landfill, so I'm not going to go back into that, but what, the retaining walls, how are they being built? Are they stone? Are they, what kind of, is it cinder block? Is it,
Yeah, so the proposed walls are gravity walls, like Cambridge. So they're, it's got the geogrid behind it. Here's a cross section of it to, give you an idea of how it's built. But basically, the wall is held up by gravity by the weight of the soil. They're Cambridge blocks. You could Google Cambridge wall blocks, and I'm sure you've seen it many of times. And a lot of when you see the picture, you'll recognize the wall type.
Sure. And are there any renderings of the actual house that you guys are building?
Not that I know of yet. No.
And then is there any relation between this piece of property and the construction barn below?
Can we give you the mic?
Yeah, sorry. I know, is there any relation between this property here and the construction barn below?
I don't believe there's any relation. I know that it was transferred ownership. At one time, they may have owned it, but I think right now it's different applicant.
Right, they subdivided.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Okay, and I know we have a number 3.
Greg Lukowski, 336 Jackson Avenue. I've been there 30 years. This lot is going to be a very, very difficult undertaking, I'm certain of, because it would have been built on already had it not. There have been other people that have looked at that and decided too much work. Having said that, a slight corollary to what my neighbors have said, my biggest concern is I'm home all day, as are 3 other residents, homeowners on that street who are not here, holiday, whatever. What is the staging going to be? You said you can't stop them from working, but my fear is 8 dump trucks lined up on Jackson Avenue with the beeping, ready to back up and drop off. How is that going to be managed?
We'd have to get a management plan from the builder, and we can restrict him to a certain extent, and say he's only going to be allowed to have like 2 or 3 trucks at a time.
That's all that would fit on the street.
That's, but you got to understand, it's a public road also.
Yeah.
A truck can go on a public street in town of Mount Pleasant.
You got to understand, I pay taxes.
Well, I do too.
Okay?
But I'm just saying.
It's going to be very disruptive. We have accepted that, okay?
address
We've
the-
accepted, I know it's a public road. I've
Sir,
did that 30 years,
just address the
okay?
board. Come through us to him. Yeah, that's probably the best way to do it, because you're always addressing the board, and then he hears it.
Okay, so you want me to speak to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a small street.
Yep.
He's saying 3 or 4 trucks. There's 6 houses. That eliminates us getting in and out of the driveway. I don't want to, my wife has very bad health concerns. There could be a time I have to rush her up to Valhalla Hospital, which
Yeah.
I have done in the past. I don't want to have to come out and ask some guy to move the truck because I can't make the turn. I can see that happening. They're going to line up on the street. They're not going to park in the Shell station, go one at a time, come up, drop the load, listen to the backup, and the noise pollution will be horrendous. I understand we have to live with that. I understand that. But I want to know what's going to happen with the staging. That's what I want to know.
And that's something we don't manage here. That would be a building department issue.
But we wouldn't have them, they wouldn't be permitted to park in front of driveways while they're there.
No, absolutely not.
And like any project like this, there's what's called a construction management plan. They'll put it together, it gets reviewed by Sal's office, and it documents all of those things.
Oh, you're Sal?
That's me.
That's the big, that he's
One
the
and
big
only.
kahuna.
Yeah.
Um,
One and only.
So I've heard.
So Sal will have control over that plan. You have every right to say, hey, Sal, make sure these issues are taken into consideration. So that becomes part of the construction management plan. And he's not gonna want Sal coming out to the property every day when you're calling Sal because there's a problem. So usually, a developer will work with the neighbors to develop a construction management plan that satisfies everybody. But yeah, there's gonna be disruption, there's gonna be noise.
We understand that. My concern is the staging of the trucks on the street. It's a narrow street.
It's a good point.
So if they're going to come up and one's waiting for one to drop a load and there's 2 or 3 more, we're not getting out. It's difficult when the landscaping
It's a
trucks
narrow road.
come on that road, that we even have to just can barely get by when they park on the road.
Yeah.
Hence a dump truck.
And Sal happens to be here tonight. He's aware of it too.
But we have had construction management plans where only one truck is allowed at a time, and the others have to stage somewhere else. They find a parking lot at the supermarket to wait until they come, or whatever it is. So that's part of the plan. It's not random or happenstance, it's thoughtful. And if
So
you can participate in that, all the better.
We can document that in our process, though, to some shape or another. Okay. Thank you for coming out tonight, too. Okay, so that was number 3. Any questions or comments from board members?
You hear that the developer has to sit.
No questions or comments. Let the record show there's no further comments or questions from board members. Pat, how are we doing with staff?
We're okay with this. Dave signed off on this at the last meeting, I believe, so we're all good to go. They've addressed all the outstanding issues, so you can close the public hearing and direct.
Just so the public knows, we don't have any comments or questions at this point because we've already kind of beat it up previously, and this is what he's got now is the result of all of our input along the way. It's not like he just showed up tonight and we're like, good to go, so. Yeah. Okay. Okay, okay.
The plan's been modified significantly
Yeah.
since that originally started.
Okay. So, all right, so we do have a public hearing that is open. We need to make a decision. What do we want to do with that public hearing?
I'd make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Motion from Eileen,
I second it.
second from Steve. Walter?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And aye from me. Okay, so the public hearing is now closed. Now we need to make a decision. What do we do with the application for steep slopes? And that's all we're hearing tonight. It's not a site plan issue other than steep slopes.
Correct.
So what do we want to do with the steep slopes application?
I make a motion to direct the preparation of an approval resolution for steep slopes permit.
Motion from Eileen,
Second?
second from Jean. Walter?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And an aye from me. Okay, so we are good to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Okay. Next up, we have a brand-new application, 1 Maple Street, subdivision of 1 lot into 2 for the development of a single-family dwelling. Application subdivision number PST 26-3, location 1 Maple Street, Valhalla. Section block lot number is 117.11-4-14. Zone R10, owner Vernelio Guacamo. Oh, and I forgot the last piece. Applicant architect is John Anastasio. I probably didn't say the name right.
Nice to see you.
Tell them that's.
Oh, that's right. I should have remembered.
It's nice to see you.
It's probably the easiest name you'll have to remember.
That's right. Okay, sir. We already know your name, but state it for the record and all that.
My name's John Anastasiou. Good evening, everyone. I'm the architect. I'm here on behalf of the owner, and the proposed project is to subdivide their existing lot. The lot is situated at the intersection of Maple and Columbus Avenue, and the owners, in their future planning, ultimately would like to divide the lot into 2 lots for their 2 children. There's 1 lot on the existing house, and the strategy is to keep one of those houses on one of the lots, and then the second lot would be for the construction of a second house for their second child. What I'm indicating here is how the 2 lots would be divided. And I have the zoning table associated with each lot. In lot number 1, that has the existing house, there would be a setback required for the rear yard. This lot fronts on Maple. It also fronts on Columbus, so it would be a corner lot. I've indicated all the setbacks from the street and to the yards. So I'm indicating that a rear yard variance is required. In addition to that, there's a mean width requirement that also requires a variance. For lot number 2, which has access off of Columbus Avenue, this doesn't really require any variances. There is an issue with the mean lot width, so that theoretically would require a variance as well. But aside from that, it meets all the setback requirement, or the yard setback requirements from associated property lines. And this outline just indicates a potential proposed development with the required side yard setbacks and the rear yard meeting all those requirements. And it also indicates a proposed driveway.
And where is that is it on Columbus or the other road? The driveway entrance.
Columbus.
The driveway entrance would be off of Columbus Avenue.
Yeah, I thought I read that. Okay. That's a busy road.
It is a busy road.
Why are we doing Columbus on that? Is there any frontage at all on the other street or no?
Yeah.
Well,
It's a corner lot. It has 2 frontages.
The other lot with the existing house
Yeah,
has
the
a.
challenge is, the applicant's objective is to preserve the existing house. So that's why he needs the variances, that's why the lot has that sort of L shape, and that's why he's choosing to create that second driveway on the Columbus.
Yeah. This drawing probably more clearly shows the intent. Here's the entire lot, the existing lot with the green property lines. This shows the divided lots. It's a corner, the existing lot's a corner lot. Here's Columbus and here's Maple. And this is an existing house. So this lot line has a little bit of an L shape to it. So this would be one lot, and this would be the second lot.
It's like a jigsaw puzzle.
It's a little bit, that's how I described it. It's a little bit like a
Yeah.
jigsaw puzzle.
In addition, you've shown the yard setbacks on the lower lot with the existing house, so we can see where the encroachment is into the rear yard setback.
This would be the encroachment of the rear yard
Because
setback
it's
here.
supposed to be down where the red line cuts through the house a little bit. Where it's supposed to lower, the yard setback, the rear yard setback there should be. You've shown a building envelope in a dashed red line, where the house lies outside of that.
The blue line is the house line here.
Yes.
So from this new property line, the setback would be 13.4 feet. On this side, it would be 16.6. So these setbacks as sides, they meet the requirement. And then over here, which is off of Columbus, it's 67.3 feet to the house from Columbus. It has an existing 32-foot setback from Maple, which meets the requirement. So as far as I can tell, or as far as I interpret, the only setback that's needed is for the rear yard here, in addition to looking at the mean depth requirement, what I think Mr. Cleary outlined in his memorandum. He outlined the mean depth that I have to look at as a variance and the mean width for the lots, in addition to the one that I've already identified, which is the rear yard setback for lot number 1.
It's atypical of what the board historically likes to do with these regularly shaped lots. I mean, there's some concern that I have personally of emptying it out onto Columbus Avenue, number 1. And we're creating a unique situation here with pretty much a non-standard appearing lot. It's not non-standard in terms of a legal definition, but more of it's not matching the rest of the community in that area specifically. They're all very linear lots in that community, and here we have this jigsaw piece happening. So that's just my first blush comment. Doesn't mean anything in terms of anything else, but the driveway is definitely a concern, emptying out onto Columbus Avenue, because it has gotten very, very busy on Columbus Avenue over the years. And
Yeah.
those cars are coming out, backing out onto Columbus Avenue, and you don't even have a turnaround there, do you, on that house?
Not at the moment, but we could add like a little hammerhead in the driveway this way, and it enables the car to kind of like do like a K-turn, so this way they're coming head out onto
Okay.
Columbus, which is probably better.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just to be clear, Columbus Avenue is a county road. So
Yeah.
the county Department of Public Works will issue a curb cut permit or comment about the adequacy of that driveway.
Yeah, and not only that, though, even if they do that, for the site plan conversation, I think you need a K-turn or something there, because that's, for the people who live there already, they don't have much of a choice. The house is the house, but
Backing out onto Columbus is not a great idea. If it were a minor street, different story. People back out of their driveways all the time, but Columbus is a major road. So.
yeah.
No objection to that. I actually think it's a good idea, and I could amend the plan for next time to show a K-turn. It's better. I've done a couple of other projects on Columbus, and I recognize the challenge there.
Yeah.
But when you come in for a site plan, that's going to be a straight building permit. It won't come to us, right? So any condition that we might want about a turnaround area should maybe be included if an approval is granted.
Yeah. Okay.
And I did receive the memorandum from Mr. Cleary, so we are starting, my engineer and I, we are starting to address some of the comments, and one of them was reaching out to Westchester County Department of Public Works for access from Columbus, and also recognizing sightline distances.
So what if they say no? That, as a possibility, what if they come back and say, you know what, we don't want you doing that, we think it's not a good idea, what do you do?
Based on the current configuration, you know, without me studying it any further, I don't particularly see another option unless some sort of easement perhaps is given from Lot 1 to Lot 2 for access off of Maple.
That did cross my mind as well.
So the county has options. The applicant's limiting their options. So the county can say, say, just stay off our road, you have a different road. You're choosing this configuration because you're preserving the existing house. So the county may not care. The other thing to bear in mind is there's a lot going on this road and, you know, the activities across the street. So I think the county's gonna be critical about this. I don't know, we have to hear what they have to say, but they're gonna be cautious about this, and it wouldn't be shocking if they said, just stay off our road. You have a second frontage, make it work in that location. So that's a possibility, John, but we can't speak for the county, who knows?
It is a constrained lot. I mean, it's an oversized lot, but it's also constrained in terms of its location. And there's some variances needed anyway, right? Based on the configuration that we're going down the path, you're putting yourself in a situation where you have to get some variances. You have to get the county to sign off on going into the Columbus Avenue. So this plan is, you're putting a couple hurdles before you that if you had another option, you wouldn't have to go through.
Well, it's challenging, and I think the challenge is because, as it's been stated, we're trying to maintain the existing house on lot number 1. And part of making the subdivision as legal as possible, having 10,000 square feet per lot, and keeping the house there, it does become a jigsaw shape. And I recognize that. If the house were not there, it would be a little bit different, because then the lot line division could be more straight, but the fact of the matter is we're trying to maintain the existing house. So and again, I'm just thinking out loud here.
Yep.
If we go to Westchester County and they disallow the curb cut driveway off of Columbus, I mean, there is precedent for it. There are other driveways that are off Columbus.
Yeah, but they've been there for 50 years.
They've been there forever. I recognize that.
Yeah.
Then what I see is creating an easement with lot number 1 that allows access to lot number 2 from Maple.
By the way, what are those boxes to the left and the right of the house in the back?
Those are the storm tech for stormwater management. It was just showing how we would deal with stormwater management for lot number 2.
We don't have to do anything with the new house, with the old house, with stormwater management?
So it depends. Dave's gonna comment on that. So they're obviously dealing with the new house, but sometimes the condition may be exacerbated with respect to what's going on the existing home. So Dave may want some stormwater if there's nothing there today.
Because we're looking at the entire site now at this point.
You are looking at the entire site. Yeah.
Right, because obviously, I've said it a couple times here, just Google Mount Pleasant flooding and you'll find a bunch of videos and articles that you can see flooding is happening. I don't know if there's flooding over there or not, but this board historically has begun to take seriously the flooding going on, so that's something we probably need to double click into as well.
And just an aside, Mr. Chairman, so preserving an existing house is generally a good thing. It's a green building measure, preserve an existing house as opposed to building new buildings. So the philosophy behind preserving the existing house, they have to take off a porch, I think, or a sunroom in the back to make it.
Actually, I forgot to mention that. Part of the existing house.
So philosophically, saving a home is a good thing, but if it results in a substandard or an inferior subdivision, perhaps you have to think it all.
There's an existing sunroom at the back of the house that would be removed from the existing house to give a little bit more space in creating the 2 separate lots. But it is an environmentally conscious trend to preserve existing buildings, because then you're not using new resources, you're not building new, you're reusing existing resources.
You can argue it the other way too, though. The new building materials are much more environmentally aware than the old building materials in terms of windows and heating systems and all that kind of good stuff. So, but I hear you. When we have a drink sometime, maybe we can have a rhetorical debate on old versus new homes. I don't know. Joking for a moment. But okay. So anything else from yourself, Mr.
Just a couple of other things to mention that are just part of the overall planning. In terms of sanitary connection and water connection, it would come off existing lines that exist in Columbus, which I got that information from the engineering department and also the water department. And the existing house is already served off of those public lines on Columbus. So they would not interfere with how these lots are divided.
And do we know how the house is going to be heated? I'm asking that question for a reason. Do we know how the house is going to be heated? Is it going to be oil or gas or?
The new house?
Yeah.
I don't know as of this moment.
The reason I ask that question is because if there's an oil delivery, and now you have to do an oil delivery on Columbus Avenue, like it's another reason we have to think about that driveway and where it goes. Because obviously, if an oil tank is backing out of that driveway onto Columbus Avenue,
It's
it's
not pretty. I get it.
another
Yeah.
concern. Okay. Any other questions or comments from board members?
No, I just said the same thing about, the K-turn is great for residents, but Amazon, oil trucks,
Mhm.
et cetera, like, they're not gonna be using that,
And what
Right.
K-turns become parking lots.
the extra parking spot.
Right,
It's
nobody,
additional impervious surfaces.
They
well,
stop right on Columbus Avenue.
Yeah, all those, you see them every day. Those trucks will just stop on.
Stop on Columbus. And
not, well, but the K-turn itself is where people park their cars. No one
Yeah,
uses a
it's parking.
K-turn in their
And now it's
driveway.
in the front yard, so that, yeah,
Right.
there's pros and cons, and it's a design issue.
But I think
so-
I think to your point, I think it's a good idea to have a K-turn, even if they end up not using it the way it was designed. I think it's probably a method, if we were to go that route, we should consider that.
Great basketball. court.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments from board members? Okay, let the record show no questions or comments from board members. So, Mr. Clear, where are we with this application?
Mr. Anastasio has gotten a bunch of comments, and I think he can go back to the drawing board to respond comments, make modifications as necessary, and we still have to hear from Dave Smith. So we
Yeah.
still need comments from Dave, so
Mhm.
they can send them off to address our issues.
Okay.
What do I do in terms of, I'm just asking in terms of process, in terms of the zoning variances? Do I go there first? Do I
Talk to
continue
the-
here?
Yeah, so the board will send you at some point in time when the plan gets fixed. We're not there yet.
Okay.
So it's still
So I
being
continue
adjusted.
here with the planning board?
Yep.
I'm on board.
Okay. Fair question, but I've learned to defer to the experts, because I've answered those questions a few times, and not always right, so I just do this. All right. Thank you
Boss
for.
is not always right, but he's always the boss.
Yes. Okay, thank you for coming out tonight. Okay, item number 4 for 625 and 635 Marble Avenue, renewal of a special use permit for gasoline station. That has been adjourned for a future time. Next up is number 5 on the agenda, proposed 11 Suzanne Lane grade rear yard to make more usable family space. Application steep slopes number SS-26-4, location 11 Suzanne Lane, Thornwood, section block lot numbers 107.5-3-40, zone R40, owner Tom Syque, applicant engineer is Jonathan Villani. Welcome, thank you for coming out tonight.
Good evening. Jonathan Villani, representing Jonathan Villani and Associates and Annunziata and Villani Design Consultants. We are presenting this steep slopes application in regards to 11 Suzanne Lane for the Seacrew residents. It was an application that came to me after the fact, so they did manipulate the grades. Although minor, it did affect some steep slopes. We represented them, we brought them to the engineering department at Mount Pleasant. They reviewed it for quite a while. We clarified some stuff on the drawings, and we obviously got some comments from Pat Cleary that he wants to actually clarify some things on the drawings, as well as identify whether there was trees removed. No trees were removed during this process. We verified in field there's no concrete structures or drainage structures underneath the manipulated grade, and the engineering department already reviewed the plan and actually requested a soil report, which we provided, and they did discover that there's a high content of trivalent chromium, which is only that you can't grow vegetation or plants in the area. So they want that to make that a stipulation of his C of O when he does receive it. They did receive a building department building permit regarding the new. What brought this upon was the new deck structure they're going to build. So I already received a permit for that deck structure. The engineering department and building department actually conversed together and allowed me to proceed with the deck, although the manipulated grade was already performed, so.
So they had a deck that came out to the site, and then the town noticed that there was something going on with the slip slopes.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here tonight.
Yeah, my client, after the fact, hired me, but they brought in Phil.
Is the grading done at this point?
They just have to clean it up. There will be some topsoil brought in, but no additional fill. So the grading's done at this point.
What did it look like before? It doesn't look like they created an awful lot of flat area behind the house.
Well, they pushed dirt around us so far, so they got stopped before they could even level the dirt out. But no fill will be brought in, they're just gonna level what's there.
This reflects the pre-change?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you, as I said, if you show us pre-post
Yes,
on a single
no
drawing,
problem.
that would make it look.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's hard to do pre-post because I came there after the fact, so I'm being relative to grades that I don't, so they actually, Gianfranco in the engineering department sent me AutoCADs of the grades that they've taken record of. So I'll manipulate that and put that pre and post, as pre and post.
Okay. That's it?
That's it.
Okay, any questions or comments from board members? And obviously steep slope is near and dear, so is water issues in town. You heard me before, we keep saying Google Mount Pleasant flooding, and there's always flooding concerns. So any conversation on flooding on this wall?
So I don't think there's a flooding issue. And again, the engineering department's been looking at this since we sell, so I don't think that's a big issue. But this is your permit and your approval, so you need the input from both of them before you can take any action.
Yeah, okay, so there's really not much more we can do tonight, then we need that input. And then you'll come back to us, and then we decide whether we want to schedule a public hearing or not.
Oh, even after that, I can't get a public hearing for the next meeting?
Well, I don't think so, because we have to, we don't, here's why. Explain it to you. We have to have all the documents in a row to present to the public. The reason why you come to us is to make sure that all the engineering reports, you've heard the other applications, the traffic studies, we present it all to the public. So if there's a neighbor who's concerned about the steep slope, or they're concerned about engineering conversations, they're concerned about anything, we have to be able to present them with something. And without those pieces of information, there's really not much we can do from a planning board perspective. As much as we want to help move people along, it's missing a key piece of information from town staff.
Well, yeah, no, I understand that completely. I just would assume that would be done already, since this project's been sitting in the engineering department for quite a few months. I didn't know they didn't submit a memo or give any sort of review to anybody to, you know what I mean? So they've reviewed it, and the reason why we proceeded with this planning board is because there was constant review with them on whether or not they did manipulate over the allotted amount.
I suggest you get on the phone with them tomorrow.
Okay,
And ask them where we are with it, and then let's move that process along.
okay, no problem.
No, unless you have no final questions, right, from the board? No. Okay.
All right.
Thank you for coming out tonight, and thank you for helping remedy that situation.
Yeah, becoming part of the regular business that I'm doing.
I see. Okay, next up is number 6, proposed 2 Walker Road, proposed solar photo, that's a tough word to say together, solar photovoltaic. Did I say that right?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Give up, let them go.
Thank you for saying that. I can see the other words, though. Panels installed on the roofs of the UV treatment building with generator building using a rack and rail system, underground electric and equipment pad. Application site plan number PSP 26-3, location 2 Walker Road, Valhalla. Section block lot number is 116.16-1-2, zone 8 Moby 2. Owner, Department of Water and G&E. And applicant engineer is Amoresco and Stephen McDonough. I think those are one of those two guys?
No. My name is Sean Ahern from Couch White. We're the attorneys for Amoresco.
Okay.
With me is Steve McDonough from Amoresco, the developer of the proposed project. As I think everyone knows, the site is owned by DEP. It's a water treatment facility. The proposal is for what I would consider a relatively small or minor rooftop solar development. Amoresco is proposing, I think, Steve, I think the other end of it's out of the TV. Amoresco is proposing to install Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
Carolyn to the rescue.
Carolyn's gonna save us.
The remote's on the table behind you. That's why I always said we need to have somebody here who's like 12 years old. It'll be done in 2 seconds.
Ah, there we go. Perfect. So like I said, Amoresco is proposing a relatively small rooftop facility on 2 of the water treatment buildings. We submitted a detailed application, detailed narrative. I think it's a pretty low impact, I guess I would say, project, right? We're utilizing existing structures. I do know it's a busy site. We did meet with Sal and Pat on that. I know there's going to be some coordination issues that we're going to have to make sure we work through. We did get Mr. Cleary's memo. I think the only thing outstanding was a question on the height. It took us a little time to research that. So we do believe, based on the definition of building height in the code, that we would be under the 40-foot limit putting these panels on top. I believe the addition of the panels is 6 to 8 inches, right? So we should have plenty of room. I guess, Pat, the question I have for you is, what do you need from us to show you that?
Cross-section and elevation, just to verify the heights.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Okay.
One small drawing.
I think Pat's memo laid out pretty well the approval process we need. Type 2 for seeker, so we don't have any review there because we're reusing existing rooftops. There's really no draw on parking. Like I said, I think the biggest hurdle we have to work through is the coordination with the existing construction work that's going on site.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a little unusual in that the facility itself is a special permit use that's issued by the town board. So you grant site plan approval for this when there really is, there's not many site issues. There's one small transformer that lands on the ground. Everything else is on the roof, so there really aren't many site plan issues. But the town board has to grant a special permit for a watershed supply facility use. And there's certain standards. I've identified them in the memo. They comply with all of them. They comply with the OB2 zoning requirements. So fully compliant in every way, no issues. It's procedural, and as you heard, it's just the coordination of how they build this while they're also building a tunnel.
So we don't have any other I's or T's to dot and cross, it sounds like.
Yeah.
The only question I have for you is, how do you say that word? I gotta know.
Photovoltaic?
Photovoltaic, okay, because he said I had to say it right. I think I was pretty close.
You were pretty close.
Okay. Okay, any final questions or comments from board members?
What is this powering? What are you using the solar for?
Yeah, it's a front of the meter, sorry, this is Steve McDonough from Amoresco. So it's a front of the meter system. It's basically going to offset, it's going to generate credits that the facility will use. I believe it's less than like 10% of the facility usage. So will be, the power will be going out to the grid, but then the credits that the solar project generates will create credits that will be cost savings on the bill for the Cat Dell wastewater treatment facility.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so we have something on the agenda. Let the record show there's nobody else with any final comments or questions from the board. We've conferred with our consultant. We think they've done everything they need to do and are ready for public hearing. It's the pleasure of the board if they decide to schedule a public hearing or not.
That's the issue.
So that's a board decision, and if the board entertains a motion, we can go through it.
I'll make a motion, we schedule the public hearing.
Motion from Steve,
Second.
second from Eileen. Walter?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And aye from me.
And just a note on procedure, because the use is not permitted until the town board grants the special permit, you can make your way to the town board whenever you want to do that. You don't have to get referred. Conceivably, you could grant site plan approval conditioned on that, so the timing really doesn't matter too much, but there's no reason why you can't.
Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next up is 28 Country Club Lane, the structural stabilization of an existing failed slope, as well as the construction of a new single-family residence, which has been designed to better fit with the existing topography of the site. Application steep slopes SS 26-3, location 28 Country Club, Barcliff Manor. Section block lot number is 104.15-1-31. Zone R20. Owner and applicant David Yoon and Rochelle Yu. Engineers Daniel Collins, Hudson Engineering. Architect RES for prefabs. Well, you are Mr. Collins?
No,
He's
my
on-
name is Joseph Berge. Good evening. I'm the owner's rep.
The owner's rep.
Remus Industries, yes. We've been working with Mr. Un and Mrs. Yu for about a year and a half on this project. With me here tonight is Abdulaziz Yusuf from Hudson Engineering.
Welcome, guys.
And Robert Luntz, lead architect on the project.
The only ask I have is a small ask. Whoever's speaking, just speak into the mic. Because
Sorry about that.
we actually have
Sorry.
people who watch us. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, family at home, actually.
Okay.
I want to say I bought his widow's house. It's actually a pleasure to be here.
I know exactly where it is.
You do you?
I-
Okay.
yeah,
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I'm
grew up
calling
around
that
the
out.
corner. I grew up around the corner.
Yes, sir. Okay. So we are here seeking the planning board's approval before you related to the steep slope disturbance coordinated site plan for this property. Following the October 2023 retaining wall and slope failure, the site was temporarily stabilized and then evaluated through multiple rounds of engineering and planning to develop a permanent solution. The application before you includes coordinated grounding, drainage, permanent slope stabilization via soil nails, restoration of the disturbed sloped area, together with the top of slope site layout that interfaces with it. The plans and sections in the package illustrate the relationship pretty clearly. We have a pretty comprehensive package. We're happy to answer any questions the board has. I'm going to turn it over quickly to Abdulaziz. He's going to answer anything civil, drainage, erosion control related. Robert can answer anything building related, and anything slope stabilization, geotechnical, I can speak to.
We also have our town, Sal.
Building inspector.
Building inspector. I just call you Sal because everyone knows Sal.
Everybody knows me.
I know
And
Sal.
I blame for saying he also is going to incorporate some conversation because he brings a lot of background
just-
knowledge to it.
Yeah, thanks.
How you doing, Sal?
Thank you, good. Just before they get started,
Sal,
I
can
want
you
to
do
just
me-
give you a...
Can you do me a
the
favor?
bo-
Can you just go to the mic because people actually watch us?
Oh.
Even his voice.
That one don't work?
Oh,
Well,
here
they
we go.
wanna- they
I
wanna
got
see-
one. How's that?
All right, thank you.
So I just want to give the board a background about what happened here and why the applicant is here for the steep slope permit. We had a very, very severe landslide that occurred behind this house on 28 Country Club Lane. The original property in the back was completely filled in with fill, and series of 3 retaining walls, stone retaining walls, were stepped down. Okay, now you got to understand, this property overlooks the Hudson River and the Metro-North tracks. There's 4 lanes of tracks on the bottom side of this property, okay, on Metro-North's land. When the slope failed, on its own, it failed, okay? Everything, walls, landscaping, trees, and thousands of yards of fill slid down and covered 4 lanes of Metro-North's tracks. Okay, it was a very severe slide. At the time, I got there very fast, and besides the massive amount of first responder, response, PD, Mount Pleasant Police, Metro-North Police, Fire Department, Archville Fire Department was there. We had gotten on scene, and we noticed that the ground, I have a picture of it actually, the ground was still moving when I got there that day. And I have a picture of a of the top of the grade of this hillslide in the back of this property with a gap of about 8 to 10 inches wide as the hill was still moving down. It was still collapsing. After all of that, thousands of yards went down onto the tracks. So at the time, I got a hold of the owner on the phone, and I told him what happened, and he was in the city. And I said, you need to get here right away. And he proceeded up. At the time of the incident, with everybody there, we had a very serious problem because Metro North was shut down. No train action. A matter of fact, a train just passed that property, and the train conductor in the rear car saw the hill slide down over the tracks after it passed. It could have been a disaster. So as massive as this slide was, okay, it created a very, very big problem for Metro North and the owner, because now his backyard was completely gone. So I told the owner that I was bringing in an emergency piece of equipment, which we did, and we continued to remove the remaining part of the hill that was sliding down, and we got it to a semi-stabilization. Now, at that point, I told the owner that we need to have a geotech engineer here to examine what we're doing, besides the fact that we had to coordinate the removal of the material, all of the fill and the rock walls and everything that were on the tracks. Yeah, we had to remove that with Metro North's contractor on the rails. So it was days of not construction, but removal time, that between the Metro North contractor on the rails and our contractor that I called in to remove all the material off so that we can get the tracks open. Well, come to find out, after we did remove all the dirt, the rails had shifted, which means that they had to come in and they had to put new rails in before those tracks were able to open up. It was this very serious problem. So this was 2 years ago when this happened, a year and a half ago. All right, and it's kind of it's an issue. I've been on this since day one. I've been working with him from Remus from day one with this whole issue. And at the time after we got all the material moved, and the Metro North was satisfied with that part, we got all the material moved back towards the 28 Country Club Lane property, which actually isn't his property. It's Metro North's property.
That's right. That's
okay? Right. You're going to see, they're going to show you that the steep slope permit that they're asking for is only for a very small southern portion of the land
20%.
That he owns, okay? The rest of the majority, I'm going to say 90% of this hill is Metro North's land.
That's right.
Okay? So the owner is now going to, they're going to present to you for the steep slope that they're going to restore his part of the land and Metro North's part of the land with this system, okay? So just to let you know what happened after the fact that we cleaned the tracks, the geotech engineer came out and he worked with the contractor and recommended a temporary stabilization, because I was worried about a massive rainstorm removing this material again and sliding it right back on the track. What we did was with the stone, we built a drywall on the bottom to hold the dirt back, and the geotech engineer guided the contractor that I called in for the owner, Capital Demolition, and we stabilized the slope. So at today's point, the slope is stabilized to the geotech engineer's satisfaction and my satisfaction, okay? So now we're at a year and a half later and working with them. Now we have to get this project on the move and get it done so that we can get this thing stabilized permanently so there's no issues. And I think Metro North is a very big part of it, what happened here. So I'm just giving you a background about how this all happened.
That's right. Thank you, Sal. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Yeah.
Spot on.
One second, Sal.
Yes.
Really quick, I have an expression, allow the presence of God to disrupt you, right? Your day was completely disrupted because of what happened that day. And a testament to your staff and to your team for doing what you did and getting involved and
Yes,
helping
sir.
coordinating the solution and all of that.
Thank you.
So and thank you for coming out and telling me that. Was it raining that day? I'm just curious. Was
It had rained prior to before the incident happened. At the time when we responded, it wasn't raining, but it had rained previous before that. Just to let the board know also, the president of the MTA showed up
Yeah.
at the scene with a couple of cops guarding her, and I got to meet her, and she commented on the response that I got from getting a contractor on board right away, and I told her at the time, we're going to do everything we have to do to help the owner get the tracks rectified and opened up with the contractor to whatever extent we had to do it. We were ready to work 24/7, and I probably left that scene at 12 o'clock that night.
Yep.
And
allow
you'd be very, very shocked to see what a real landslide looks like.
When you woke up that day, you didn't plan this, so
I didn't plan
allow
to
the
do that.
presence
No,
of-
no,
allow
I
the
did
presence
not
of
plan
God
it.
to
But
disrupt you. Say it one more
I was
time.
there. I was
Good for
really
you.
there for the homeowner. I was really there for the homeowner to
Good.
help him out. He was kind of shocked and stunned what happened. And if you want to hear my recommendation, whatever procedure you have to go, I'm highly recommending that the board grants this steep slope permit so we can get this thing done and rectified for good.
Okay, thank you for
Thank you,
sharing
Sal.
your
Yep.
story.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. So I just want to encourage and second what Sal said. The owner or owners, they brought in a crack shot team of consulting. There's 10 firms who have put together this multiple iterations to land on what you're about to see. Big names, MRCE, Musa Rutledge, right? They designed the Soil Now solution. Geodesign is the geotech on the job. Carlin and Simpson was involved in boring, soil testing. We have answers for anything, any questions that you have. We've studied this for, as Sal said, a year and a half. So happy to turn it over to Abdulaziz so he can show you what's going on.
Thank you. You can just pull it right out.
All right, good evening, members of the board. My name is Abdulaziz Yusuf, project engineer from Hudson Engineering. Just to follow up on the presentation, I'm just going to show a quick video of what the project is going to look like. I think that would give the board a good sense. Let me just play that. So this is what we're proposing. The yellow is the slopes that we're going to be stabilizing, and again, a lot of work has been put together to make sure that's actually a feasible design. And you can see it's all within every setbacks. There are no variances needed with any of the property line setbacks.
Abdulaziz, the red line on the bottom of that slope was your property line, right?
Yes, correct.
The other side of that is the MTA property.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. And the yellow again, that's the extent of the slope stabilization.
We lost it.
Where that red line, okay. So as Sal said, 90%, 80–90% is MTA property.
Right.
This little triangle, that's the owner's property. Yet he's graciously, voluntarily footing the bill for the
You don't
entire
have
school.
a picture of the site the way it sits today, do you? You have a picture of that?
We have the
Anyway, just as I explained to the board, this whole slope from the top to the bottom, there was 3 walls here, and this was filled in with thousands of yards of fill. This whole slope, if you could imagine, went straight across the tracks
I
to
remember
here.
from the news, yeah.
Covered the entire Metro North track.
Yep.
And that's thousands of yards of material. Catastrophic failure.
I remember from,
Catastrophic.
yeah, I remember the news and the
Yeah, you
images.
said, you
Yeah.
read it in the paper, yep.
Yep.
And that's what happened. It's literally slid all the way across the tracks. And there's thousands of yards of material that came out of there that was, that was part of the issue.
The Google Earth image of the slope before the wall, before the landslide, That was a whopper of a wall, and like 3 walls. And when I saw that, I was like, holy smokes, that went down. But I'm also wondering about the adjacent neighbors and the slopes on their property. Like, this seems very well contained to just 28, but what does it mean for that guy on the right there, you know?
So we're what we call daylighting into them. We're not going to be affecting them whatsoever. You see the limits of disturbance, it's about 12,000 square feet, but it ends on, it's a tough site. It's like the property line, the way you see it there. What we're trying to do, right, the bottom line is we're trying to restore the existing topography of the land before 20 years ago when that wacky
Wall
3-tier wall was built. So we want to restore, and the part of Robert's idea was restoring the original topography of the landscaping such that there was no need for any crazy slope stabilization. We're still going a few steps further than that because it is a excessively steep slope.
As, sorry, Rob Luntz from Resolution 4. So the idea, the overall is to marry into the slopes on either side so that we're not impacting the neighbors on either side. And the slope just naturally goes into the existing slope of the neighbors.
Are we talking to the neighbors already?
Yes, my partner, my boss, Robert, he personally knows them. So yes, everybody's on board in that cul-de-sac area.
Okay, because
Very much so.
Because they're going to become aware if we schedule a public hearing. So I want to know. I want to be prepared. Do they know or not know at this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They also, just to let you know, Metro North engineers did an engineering analysis on all of the walls on that line going down every resident's backyard. They did a complete engineering analysis on everybody's wall, and if they found defects, they were notifying them by letter that they have to fix them.
Okay.
Yeah, because of what happened here.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Right, so now we're just going to go over the general plans, what we submitted to the board, just so you're aware of the project in its entirety. This is an existing conditions plan where the proposal is to demolish the existing dwelling, in addition to the slope stabilization, of course, the driveway, the pool and patio, and replace with new single-family residence. Here you can see, it's just like the video, we're going to have the proposed dwelling, you have your driveway. We're proposing, as far as stormwater, to capture and infiltrate all the impervious area into the ground, designed up to the 100-year storm event. So that's basically, we're citing the Coltex in this area and some over here as well. As far as sediment erosion control, we're proposing a series of silt fences, erosion mats, erosion rolls, all throughout the entire phase of the project. This is inclusive of the slope stabilization and the construction on the property. Other typical standards are also being met with construction entrances, soil stockpiles, and other practices. And again, this is just showing you the extent of the steep slopes. So you could see that a majority of the slopes is on MTA's side of the project, but the client is going above and beyond to stabilize the entire slopes.
Can I just point out, Mr. Chairman, that we have all the documentation of the license agreements and the permissions from the MTA to allow them to do that work.
Okay, good. Thank
you.
Yeah.
MTA is pretty thorough when they do things.
Yeah.
Did you guys have to set up a force account with Metro North?
Yes.
Would you need work trains and then track outages to do this work?
So no track outages are required, and they believe limited supervision. They've quoted about 50,000 worth of labor, but somehow that turned into 132,000 with their markup. So we're not too happy about that, since we're footing the bill for the actual slope stabilization, 80%, 90% on their property, yet they're hitting us with this. But We are in proximity to, we're keeping a strict 20-foot hard barrier offset from the railroad. And part of the submission was our engineered logistics and work plan showing exactly how we're phasing logistics, where the material is going to be, where the equipment's going to be, equipment cut sheets, equipment anchoring. So we've really come at it from every angle, but Metro North definitely, gave us a run for our money there, literally.
Flagmen aren't cheap.
No. So, yes, so, okay, what we see here, so there's going to be almost 300 soil nails embedded.
Can you describe a soil nail?
Sure, actually. Picture so if you're God, right? You came down and you said this slope is loose. We're going to put a bunch of thumbtacks in the slope. They happen to be 20 to 25 foot deep. They're drilled with sacrificial bits, injected grout. There'll be about inch and a half threaded bar, but 4-inch holes grouted. And then what will happen is once we meet the embedment, and this is all done under the supervision of our geotech, geodesign, right? We have to do load testing and inspections, test grout for grout cylinders for compression. What will happen is we'll break the job up into 5 segments. We think it's going to be about 6 months worth of work. Hopefully we can do it a little quicker than that. It depends on logistics with Metro North and how agreeable they are to our durations. But that said, right, perfect. What happens is once we get the soil nail in, we're going to put an erosion control blanket, right, which is like a vegetative / geofabric blanket over the existing surface, which still allows permeability. And then we're going to put a steel mesh, almost like a fence fabric, which is then locked into every nail head, right? The nails are spaced about 5 to 10 feet on center. They will be locked in with they're threaded, so they'll be locked in with a threaded nut and a steel plate, which locks in that mesh, which locks in the steel mesh. It'll be vegetated as well. We have a landscape architect, right, Wagner Hodgson, which is part of the submission. He put in I think it's a fescue. He has it actually well documented in there. So it'll be a vegetated slope. Yeah, right. Again, it's about 12,000 square feet. So once that's done, I mean, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Not for a very long time. Plus, we're regrading the slope, so it's.
What will the grade be?
It's still going to be up there. It's about 70%. It's about 1.4 to 1. Yeah, and that's after lowering the grade. We're actually lowering the top of slope elevation so as to help the issue even more. We're lowering it about 10 feet, actually. We're cutting behind the house about 10 feet down.
And the fescue will grow on that because some grasses won't grow if it's too
So,
steep.
so he chose based on that. I don't claim to be a horticulture specialist, but these guys are. So yes, and of course they can submit product data sheets, anything like that you need. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It interfaces with top of slope. There'll be fall protection up there, plantings.
So you have to get, because I was going to ask the duration, but you answered the question of the duration.
Yes.
6 months, but you need to get that check marked with the MTA.
So MTA's issued our permit, our entry permit. They're just waiting for the force account to be funded, which isn't an issue. It's just we need to go through this process before we were, willing to do that. So
It's kind of immaterial, but I'll ask the question anyway. Why are we knocking down the house? Is it just a choice?
Well, so it's a good point. We're actually going to. So why are we knocking down a house? I guess that's owner's discretion, right? He's going to be building a new house. We're actually going to be demoing the house. We think it's better to demo the house while we're grading and doing slope stabilization, but keeping the existing foundation in place to act as sort of a temporary retaining wall. And we're going to take that down when it makes sense to do so, right? Because there's going to be a lot of grading, a lot of earthwork going on behind the house. So keep the foundation there while demoing the house itself.
So if I could, you can sort of see here where the contours start to fall off very quickly, and it's almost up, it's went into the back patio of where the existing
remember that
house
picture,
is.
yeah.
So, I mean, essentially, their whole sort of rear area is gone, and a lot of that is fill material that really needs to be removed anyway. So it kind of forced the issue for them of removing the house, because the house, the pool, this is all on what we now know is not very stable fill that happened whenever the house was expanded and you know, before the owners purchased the property.
Yeah, the mid-2000s.
All that construction happened, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that person's around anymore, but they created a
Yeah,
big
how
problem.
long have these guys lived here?
They've actually never lived in the house.
They bought it a year before the catastrophic
I remember
failure and never lived there.
They were renting it out, right?
Yes.
They were renting it out.
Yeah.
It was during the sort of end of COVID and trying to figure the whole thing out.
Yeah, well, we have to correct the situation there anyway at some point, right?
He's eager to. He is very eager to.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
I think he shared with us, what's the cost about the slope work, not the house?
The slope work is we're thinking around 1.3, 1.5.
This gives you context.
But that's like, I mean, we're projecting force account, everything, you know, actual construction's like just under $1 million, we think.
It's a good chunk of money at the end of the day. Okay, and I guess the other thing that's gonna come up if you do eventually come to a public hearing is the traffic related to construction traffic, which we would have to be ready to answer that question. I'm not asking you to answer that question tonight, but I think that may come up as if we do schedule a public hearing at some point.
I can address that. Our hope, our plan was to minimize that by performing the cut, that initial big cut and load out very early on, because it's something that we can do across the entire slope at once and get that out of the way in a compressed, consolidated schedule, so that over the 6 months of the project, we're not constantly trucking and trucking and trucking.
You're coming in from the bottom or the top?
The top. There's actually a hard barrier at the toe of the...
There, you can't get from the bottom, you have to go from the top where the existing driveway is. That's how we got in to retain the, oh, you got no idea, Owen. It was.
And it's really
You
not.
left us a nice bench, though.
Next thing that was gonna go down the hill was the in-ground swimming pool. That's how close it got.
Which is being removed, by the way.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to swim in that pool. Okay, any other questions or comments from board members?
And to your point about
Yeah.
to your point, Mr. Chairman, about the construction part of it, we're in a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
It's large, a very large cul-de-sac, and we do have a lot of room in the middle of the cul-de-sac if we had to stage a truck or something like that. No interference with any driveways for the neighbor next door. Okay, so there's quite a bit of room back in there, down in there.
That question seems to come up more and more often, construction concerns, so.
Yeah.
But we'll get the question, we'll be ready for the answer. That's all.
Construction plan. that's
Okay, anything else?
Just one other thing, the house as designed, just to put it on the record for you guys, is completely within the setbacks.
Yeah.
And it's zoning compliant in every way that we know about. It's under the height, it's lower than the existing house
Yeah, the height-
that was there. And it's a two-story house, on a basement, and so it's completely height-wise, area-wise
Yeah,
compliant.
and that's outside the scope of what we're, because you're here for the steep slope, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
interesting, and I like to hear the stories, but I'm trying to remember to keep to the script, which is, you know, we're here for specifically for the steep slope. I fall off the script sometimes. My family tells me the same thing.
Yeah, me too. I've got the same disease.
Okay, anything else?
Unless you have more questions.
Not for me. Anybody else? Yeah, that's a good situation to get remedied. So, okay, so we need to get something from Metro North at some point, right?
So no, Metro North has already given them the okay and the permit to do the work.
Okay.
So that moving this as quickly as possible is the right.
So can I make a motion to schedule a public hearing?
You certainly can. Eileen? It's late in the day. Do I have a second?
Yes, we do. I'll second it.
Second there, okay. Okay, Walter?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Arlene?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And I for me. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Enjoy your holiday.
Are we done?
Yep, we're done.
Okay.